67%. Chapter 321 10 million gold coins. Yan Ming's face was ashen, looking at the points on the table. His eyes were shining with anger and a trace of astonishment. Whether the dice in the black light has been tampered with or not, Qin Ming knows best, but at this moment, the 363 points, like a resounding slap, slammed on Qin Ming's face fiercely. After a long time, Qin Ming sneered, "My life. Your Excellency is really very generous." Qin Sheng sat on the luxurious bench. His eyes did not fluctuate in the slightest. "You can try it." As soon as these words came out, Qin Sheng felt like a thorn in his back, and a wave of murderous intent poured out from Qin Sheng's body, wrapping Qin Sheng up, as if a steel knife had been placed on Li Ming's neck. 1 million gold coins, get them from my treasury. Qi Ming waved his hand, leaned forward slightly, and stared at Qin Sheng's face. "I don't know if you still have the guts to continue playing." "Continue to play." The corners of Qin Sheng's mouth curled up, with a hint of playfulness. Qi Ming said, 1 million gold coins, another round of guessing points. You win, I will give you 10 million gold coins. Don't worry, I will definitely afford it. After a pause, he said frantically, "If you lose, then I will kill you." "No problem." Qin Sheng agreed without even thinking about it. The money that was sent for nothing, why not want it? Of course, Qin Sheng never thought about whether Chu Ming would renege on his debt. 10 million gold coins, it seems to be the same as the real thing, but you must know that Qi Ming is just a sinking palace near the outermost periphery, a master who doesn't even know what to do. Let him take out 1 million gold coins, it is estimated it's almost to kill the name. As for 10 million pieces, Qin Sheng never thought about it. In front of him, Qin Sheng must be playing some kind of trick. At first, he thought it was just 30 gold coins, just for fun. Now that the 30 gold coins make Qin Sheng use his small fortune to make a big fortune, he wants to lose 1 million gold coins. Even if it is 30 gold coins, I have to earn my name. Only my own money is the real money. There was a bit of madness in Yan Ming's eyes, and 3 more crystal-made dice were thrown out, and they were wrapped in black light in an instant, intertwined and collided on the gaming table, making crisp sounds. Qin Sheng frowned slightly, and couldn't help laughing out loud. These 3 crystal dice are more advanced than the manipulation method just now named. Among the 3 small dice, there is actually dark magic belonging to the subspace. In the black light, all 6 sides of the 3 crystal dice were blank, without marking any points. In other words, no matter how much Qin Sheng guessed, he would definitely lose. The last time Chu Ming was wrapped in the black light, he tampered with the dice, but this time, Chu Ming could even manipulate the points of the dice when the black light dissipated. In this way, the 4 players will surely win. Chu Ming looked comfortable with the winning ticket in hand. Guess, how many points are there? Qin Sheng stretched out a finger. 363. You really don't know at all. I always have. Qin Sheng leaned back on the seat. The smile on the corner of his mouth remained unchanged. At this time, there was an uproar in the casino, and many of them were staring at the gaming table all the time, watching the gambling game where the principal was turned into 1 million gold coins in just 2 rounds of guessing points, and they almost fell into suffocation. What bliss needs is this kind of hysterical, almost crazy enjoyment. Even witnessing others enjoying this kind of pleasure can bring unimaginable pleasure to the fallen people of bliss. In the black light, the sound of the dice colliding gradually stopped. Under the wrapping of the black light, everyone couldn't see what happened in it, but Zhou Heng could see it at this time. There was a faint purple light on the 3 dice, and it slid across the 6 sides of the dice, as if a soldering iron had slid over fat, leaving deep marks on it. After a short while, the 3 dice disappeared with the black light, steadily fell on the table. At the same time as the black light dissipated, Qi Ming moved his fingers to freeze the points on the points that were not close to the main king. This method has to be said to be considered superb, in order to avoid all possibilities and completely lock the result of this round of betting. But Qin Sheng, who was on the table in front of him, chuckled softly. It seems that Master Qi is going to come up with 10 million gold coins. All eyes could not wait to lock on the 3 dice on the table, as expected, 363. What the hell did you do? Qin Ming couldn't believe the scene he saw in his eyes. Qin Sheng waved his hand, and the spiritual energy turned into a long knife, suspended in the void, and rested on Qin Ming's neck. How can you say, you the casino, the banker is making a fool of himself? Following Qin Sheng's fingers, everyone looked at the 3 dice, which were very strange. What's the matter with this dice? Why are all 6 sides 3? This dice has 6 sides on all 6 sides. Boss, is this how you manipulate the game? For Qin Sheng, the dark magic in the crystal dice is not so profound, and it is easy to change the fundamental rules with psionic calculations. It is precisely because of this that the points are once again locked at 163. The scene in front of them caused all the gamblers in the casino to fall into a frenzy. After these people have completely become perishers, it can be understood that they are not enlightened yet. Just like a wild beast, only knowing to perish, caught in an almost crazy enjoyment. Of course, what Qi Ming earns is the money of these bottom-level sinkers, and squeezes out the last trace of value from these sinkers. But even a dog knows what to do, and now that the fig leaf is being torn off by Qin Sheng, the truth of the casino is also presented to the bottom group of perishers. There was a sinister smile on Qin Ming's face. Kill them all. Qin Sheng also kept smiling. Who dares to move? Boom. As the voice of Qin Sheng, "Are you good?" fell, the entire casino seemed to be held down by a non-existent big hand. All the gaming tables were shattered into sawdust, and the floor was also exploded into pieces, belonging to all the thugs under Qin Sheng. They were all unable to move under the coercion of spiritual energy. Although Qin Sheng can be even more terrifying, but after all, this is the paradise of paradise, Qin Sheng needs to be more cautious in his actions, and now he just wants to deter Chu Ming. Seeing this, Chu Ming also knew in his heart that this person in front of him is not easy to mess with. I don't know what your origin is, why you want to make things difficult for the villain. Knowing Qin Sheng's horror, Chu Ming's attitude changed instantly, and his humbleness reached the extreme. Qin Sheng got up slowly, put his hands on the gambling table. 10 million gold coins, can you get them out? If you can't take it out, just save your life. I can take it out. I can take it out. My lord, please give me some time. 67%. Chapter 322 Admission Tickets, Del Case's event. Although Qin Sheng has tried his best to suppress the power of his psychic power, but for these perishers in the perishing palace, the power Qin Sheng displayed at this time is no less than that of a fourth-level demon. No matter how powerful the perishing person is, he is not comparable to the great demon who surrenders to the prince in the real hexagonal palace. At this moment, in Qin Ming's mind, Qin Sheng has confirmed his status as a fourth-level demon. It's just a fourth-level demon who likes to tease peripheral perishers like him, and takes pleasure in it. Facing a fourth-level demon, Chu Ming dared not have the slightest thought of disobedience. This can't be blamed on Qin Ming's wild thinking. After all, not everyone can do such a tyrannical spiritual coercion. Qin Sheng stretched out his hand and hooked it, and a wisp of psychic energy penetrated into Qin Ming's body. I only give you half a day to collect 10 million gold coins and place them in front of me. It's half a day. I'm afraid it's not too urgent. Well, my lord, you follow me to the 5th floor to pick it up, otherwise it will take more than half a day to go back and forth. 10 million gold coins, how could it be possible for Chu Ming to get all of them? Not to mention half a day. Even if he was named for half a lifetime, he would not be able to knock 10 million gold coins 927 from the hands of these low-level sinking people, but he was just a small master in the 5th-level sinking palace. Qin Sheng never thought of getting these 10 million gold coins. From the beginning to the end, Qin Sheng just wanted to borrow a springboard to enter the 5th floor to find the abandoned nest of evil in the void. This is the fundamental goal of Qin Sheng. Father, I can feel that the abandoned nest is not very far from here. It's just at the border of the 5th floor. As long as you enter the 5th floor, you can easily find the understanding of abandonment. The power here is superimposed layer upon layer, and I can't feel it at the outermost edge. Listening to Habie's voice, Qin Sheng nodded along with Qin Sheng. If you don't make it all together, your life will be in danger. I know. Following the call of the treasure car by name, a strange creature like a seahorse appeared in Qin Sheng's sight, dragging a huge pink flower bud. On Qin Sheng's shoulder, the mechanical bird Ramik shouted, "It seems that this theoretical name is not a common Shah. How do I say this? People on the 5th floor can't afford to drive such a standard car, so it has to be the top few people on the 5th floor, CIFB, or the richest people on the 4th floor or even the 3rd floor." Hearing what Ramik said, Qin Sheng couldn't help squinting his eyes. Qin Sheng had seen that seahorse-like weird creature before. In the current universe back then, Stiga seemed to be riding a seahorse-shaped monster, descending on a chariot, and that seahorse monster was exactly the same as the one in front of him. A mighty 6th-level peak monster, even comparable to a 7th-level existence, can only use such a monster to travel and fight, which is really too far away for Qin Ming. Qin Sheng couldn't help showing a smile. Maybe your 30 gold coins can really turn into 10 million gold coins. Hearing Qin Sheng's words, Ramik's mechanical eyes flashed with joy spiritually. Seeing this, Qin Sheng chuckled and said, "A miser." After boarding the treasure car, the flower buds gradually opened, and the pink stamens formed simple tables and chairs. But just by looking at it, one can tell that this table and chair is absolutely extremely comfortable. The huge flower bud was almost the size of a house, and Qin Sheng wasn't worried at all about Ku Ming's unusual behavior, let alone any conspiracy. Stepping into the flower buds, Qin Sheng sat on the main seat naturally, and the soft and smooth flower stamens supported Qin Sheng's body, as if custom-made according to Qin Sheng's body shape, enveloping Qin Sheng. Hema rushed towards the 5th floor of the sunken palace. Qin Ming held a handkerchief in his hand and wiped the blood stained on his palm. Just when the treasure car arrived, Qi Ming beheaded all the perverts in the casino who had witnessed the abnormality of the dice, and threw them outside the city. After all, such a big incident happened in the casino. If it gets out, how will Qi Ming get money from these bugs in the future? Qin Sheng naturally didn't bother to take care of them. These perishers were all the most corrupt existences. They chose to believe in Slanesh, which was much worse than believing in Korn, Zinch, or Nurgle. The other 3 evil gods are just a single aspect of desire, or several aspects, in order to be good at it and specialize in one. Slanesh, on the other hand, has completely penetrated desires, all thoughts that can make people happy, no matter whether they are normal or abnormal, but as long as they can't get rid of the word, joy, that is the desire of Slanesh believers. The ultimate creed. It is precisely because of this that the other 3 evil gods are slightly afraid of Slanesh. If Slanesh is allowed to grow like this, eventually Slanesh will definitely become the supreme existence in the entire subspace. After all, what Slanesh is pursuing is something that the other 3 evil gods cannot pursue. Looking at Qin Sheng, Qin Ming put down the handkerchief in his hand, and said tremblingly, "My lord, I still don't know your name." "Why do you know my name? At your level, even if you hear it, you don't even know who I am." Qin Ming smiled awkwardly, but didn't speak anymore. "Get up and grab a stamen extending from the top of the bud, and pick up a fragrant wooden cup on the other side, which is inlaid with extraordinary-looking jewels. Align the stamens with the mouth of the cup, and there is a trace of a strange fragrance, like a juice-like liquid flowing into the wooden cup, and put the wooden cup respectfully in front of Qin Sheng. My lord, don't worry, although 10 million gold coins are right for me, I can't get it out, but someone can get it out." Qin Sheng picked up the wooden cup, and the bright red liquid in the wooden cup was enough to make people salivate, but Qin Sheng didn't react at all, and responded coldly, "Someone is willing to spend so much money to buy your life." The villain, as the head of Harry Bauer Pavilion, naturally has some contacts. "I will introduce you to a duke who will be more than willing to pay you this sum. However, my lord may need you to do a little favor for the duke." Qin Ming's eyes shone brightly. Obviously, when he knew that Qin Sheng was not easy to mess with and he couldn't afford the reward of 10 million gold coins, Qin Ming had already outlined a perfect plan in his heart. There was a hint of mockery in Qin Sheng's eyes. "You want me to work for you?" "No, no, no. That's absolutely not the case, my lord. No matter what the angle is, I think you will definitely be interested in this matter." As he said that, Qi Ming took out a parchment scroll, and it was written impressively on its head. Del Casey Extravaganza, 67%. Chapter 323, 5th floor. What? The Delches event is about to begin. The mechanical bird Ramik made a weird cry, and Qin Sheng blinked. What is the Delches event? This is a unique banquet in paradise, similar to a gathering of gentlemen and nobles in the upper class to communicate with each other, in addition to auctions and some competitions. But every Del Case event is different, even the location of the event is different. I remember that the last Delches event was held on the 2nd floor, when the entire sunken palace fell into a frenzy. After a pause, Ramik said with a strange smile, "It would be really interesting if the grand event of Delches begins." How do I say this? The Delches family was created and supported by Slanesh in paradise, and it is precisely because of this that the Delches event can have such a grand occasion. But generally speaking, the Del Cases event is held once every 100 years, but the last Del Cases event was held in advance 32 years ago, and there must be a reason for it. Qin Sheng nodded in agreement, and the reason for this is probably related to himself in all likelihood. My lord, you must also be aware of the Del Cases event. It is our great honor to hold the Del Cases event on the 5th floor this time, Your Excellency the Duke also cares very much. But after all, we are just ordinary businessmen, and if we want to enter the upper class, we are still a little short. Quote. At this moment, Qin Ming slowly opened his mouth and said. Qin Sheng frowned slightly. Then what do you want me to help you with? My lord, you are a 4th-level demon. I want to ask you to help the Duke support the scene, that's all. Why? As he said that, bursts of dark purple magic power flowed in Qin Sheng's hands, and a huge gray suitcase appeared in Qin Sheng's sight. As Qi Ming opened the suitcase, there were piles of crystal-clear crystals. The crystals were of the same format, and seemed to be some kind of currency in circulation. What is the origin of this Duke to have such a handwriting? Emperor, these are all Falca crystal nuclei. They are so precious, one is equivalent to the value of 10,000 gold coins. Receiving Ramik's reminder, Qin Sheng looked at the Falca crystal nucleus with great interest. This is the sincerity of the Duke. After a long time, Qin Sheng nodded. I can accompany your so-called Duke to attend this grand event in Delches. That would be wonderful. Originally, Qin Sheng wanted to refuse, but just now, Habie's voice came to Qin Sheng's ears. Father, go. With just 3 words, Qin Sheng directly chose to go to the grand event in Delches. The Hema treasure car galloped all the way, crossed the wall of the 5th floor, and went straight into the 5th floor. Behind the wall, there are 2 completely different scenes from the 6th floor. There is a lot of people here, surrounded by all kinds of races, but each of them seems to be normal. Compared with those perishing people on the 6th floor, this place is like a paradise. Vendors can be seen everywhere, as well as various shops and entertainment venues, in order. The seahorse treasure car appeared on the 5th floor, and the perishers around showed envious and jealous expressions. But it seems to be extremely fearful, not daring to approach. The road in front of him has even become empty. All the perishers are crowded on both sides of the road, and they dare not approach Hema Baojun at all. Not everyone can drive such a precious car. They are all high-ranking officials and nobles in paradise. Because of this, how can these ordinary people dare to provoke them? Enough to buy the life of these people. It seemed that he could see the doubts in Qin Sheng's heart, Ramik explained. The treasure car traveled unimpeded all the way, and arrived at the place where the Lord Duke had been mentioned by Qin Ming. An attic entirely made of white rock, with a black iron plaque engraved on the door, is Harry Bower Pavilion. The flower buds bloomed, and the 2 got off the treasure car, and under the guidance of Qi Ming, they walked into the Nurhari Bower Pavilion. With the creaking sound of pushing the door open, the magnificent decoration like a medieval palace appeared in Qin Sheng's sight. This Hariboer Pavilion is 4 floors high, and there are quite a few people walking back and forth among them. Qin Sheng is a little puzzled as to what the so-called Harry Bower Pavilion is for, but even Ramik I have never heard of the existence of this Harry Bower Pavilion. People who came and went showed respect when they saw Qin Sheng, and at the same time, many people were looking at Qin Sheng. My lord, this way please. 720. As Qin Ming said, the 2 took the extremely simple elevator straight to the 4th floor. Arriving at the 4th floor, one can see a long and thin corridor. The floor is covered with a thick and heavy carpet made of the fur of some kind of strange beast, which is obviously very valuable. There were many portraits hanging on both sides of the corridor, but Qin Sheng couldn't recognize any of them, but Ramik looked at them with great interest. Turning around the corridor, a hall appeared in Qin Sheng's line of sight. In the hall, there was a large bed with a length and width of 10 feet. Other than that, there were all kinds of unsightly playthings. At the foot of the bed, a few naked women were squatting on the ground enjoying themselves, while on the big bed, a titan was enjoying the ultimate enjoyment brought by coloring thoughts. Qin Sheng frowned slightly, not because of the scene in front of him, but because in the corner of the hall, there were no less than dozens of corpses of women who had lost their blood color, and all of them had their bodies removed. That titan looked 5 meters tall. The skin on its thick limbs was like tree bark, rough like an elephant's leather. Under the thinning hair was an extremely ugly face, with a bulging belly like a hill. On one side, there was a flattering expression on Qin Ming's face. My lord, the lord is here. No, the Duke didn't seem to have the slightest intention of getting up, and was still indulging in the yin-yang-yan. Qin raised his brows slightly, and just when he was impatient, Habie's voice emerged again. Father, I can sense where the abandoned nest is, but we seem to have to get help from this Duke. How do I say this? The abandoned nest has always flowed in the void. At this time, it has been transferred to a mansion. That mansion looks much more luxurious than this place. If no one brings it in, I'm afraid it won't be possible to get in. Qin Sheng helped his forehead helplessly, but at this moment, the Duke had already slowly got up, and threw the women on him out of his big bed as if catching a mouse. Only a few muffled sounds were heard. These women were already dead bodies. Of course, Qin didn't feel sorry for these guys at all. Has turned into a perishing person. No matter what race he is not worthy of sympathy. The Duke stretched his legs, put on an expensive-looking dress, and looked at Qin Sheng. This is what you said, the strong 4. 67%. 320th chapters crushed insects. Crack. Following the Duke's clapping, several servants brought over 2 giant chairs, and Qin Sheng sat down naturally. The Duke in front of him was holding his stomach, with a pervasive and strange smile on his face. Among the 5th floor, there are at least dozens of dukes, and I am the only one who made his fortune as a merchant. That's why those bastards look down on me to some extent. This Delches event is the perfect opportunity for me to enter the 4th floor, so I need someone to help. Help me to shine brightly at the grand festival of Delches, so that those noble adults can see me. As he spoke, the Duke took out a half-meter-long cigar from behind him, lit it and took a puff. It looked a little ridiculous, and suddenly the entire hall was filled with smoke. I forgot to introduce myself. My humble Enka Bilu, I don't know. There is no need for, February 27th, to keep my name taboo. Where will the Del Cases event be held? Come to Leone Mansion. Hearing Enka Bilu's answer, Qin Sheng nodded, no problem. On the very luxurious-looking mansion that Javiers felt, there was a white rock door plaque engraved impressively, which was exactly Leone. This is quite a blessing, everything is connected. Qin Sheng didn't care about the 10 million gold coins at all, but by mistake, he got Enka Bilu through the point of name, which Qin Sheng had never thought of before. With Enka Blind Lu, Qin Sheng can easily enter the Leone Mansion, and participate in this grand event of Delches as a follower. If there is any problem, we have to try to find out. Before you, I have also found many people, but they all look extremely powerful, but they are all weak. I don't know you. Enka Bilu showed a grim smile on his face, put down the huge cigar in his hand, picked up the scepter beside the chair, and with the sound of the scepter hitting the floor, amidst the smoke, a giant shadow slowed down from the depths of the hall, walked out slowly. This giant shadow is nearly 10 meters high. Even the titan-like Enka Blind Lu is pitifully small in front of this giant shadow. The giant shadow has a stooped body, its limbs are as slender as bamboo joints, and it bears a huge head. Qin Sheng can't see its whole picture clearly, but its general appearance is somewhat similar to some branches of Zerg. Crack, squeak, squeak. A series of weird syllables came out of the monster's mouth, and Enka Bilu said, if you can solve it, I will take you to the Delches festival, and I will double the 10 million gold coins that I owe you. Here you go. Qin Sheng was sitting on the giant chair, his expression didn't change at all. Beside Qin Sheng, Qin Ming's legs had already started to tremble, and the scene in front of him made this guy feel deep fear. Although Ku Ming had already gotten acquainted with Enka Bilu, in the final analysis, Ku Ming was just a part-time worker under Enka Bilu. A monster that feeds on corpses. This is why there are so many corpses piled up in the hall of Enka Bilu. But before that, the name was also regarded as a rumor, but today, it seems to be true. Qin Sheng twisted his neck slightly, and looked at the Zerg monster in the smoke. What, are you afraid? The corners of Enka Blindlu's mouth almost reached his ears, and there was a trace of excitement in his eyes. It seemed that this kind of competition made the powerful Duke feel a deep pleasure, but Qin Sheng shook his head, such a little bug is too weak. Le Babar is an elite Zerg that is comparable to a top level 3 monster, you. Boom. A psychic beam of light spewed out from Qin Sheng's fingertips, and passed through Enka Bilu's side. Enka Bilu's eardrums hurt from the gust of wind, and the Zerg beside Enka Bilu had disappeared in smoke. Only a few thin broken limbs remained, falling to the ground and convulsing. The 4th floor of Haribauer Pavilion was also blasted with a big hole by the beam of spiritual energy. Enka Blind Lu breathed heavily, but the ferocious smile on his face did not change at all. Instead, he seemed to be more excited, and clapped his hands again and again. Good. Good, good. Come here, Telkahe. Enka Bilu shouted loudly, and after a while, several servants came to Qin Sheng with gold boxes that seemed to be priceless. Open it and see, is this reward satisfactory? Enka Bilu always maintained that exaggerated smile. When Qin Sheng slowly lifted the golden box, there were no less than 1,000 Faka crystal nuclei in it, each one was the size of a palm, shining dazzlingly. And there are 7 or 8 of these golden boxes. Qin Sheng nodded. Yes, I am very sincere. The crystal nucleus here alone is enough to buy a mountain range in any part of the sky and use it as its own territory. And the moment Qin Sheng put away these crystal nuclei, a system notification sound appeared in Qin Sheng's mind. Congratulations, you have obtained Faka crystal nucleus times 9034. 10,000 times increase. Congratulations, you have obtained the map where the Faka crystal mine is located times 1. This time, Qin Sheng wondered if his ears had misheard. And in Qin Sheng's mind, a lifelike map has emerged. Qin Sheng forcibly suppressed the ecstasy in his heart, called Qin Ming, and put away these Faka crystal nuclei. Under the arrangement of Anka Bilu, Qin Sheng temporarily lived in this Haribo or pavilion. Inside the house, the figures of Elise and Javiers gradually emerged. That guy, damn it. Javiers waved his little fist angrily. Although this little Lolita is the ancient ancestor of void-breeding evil, she is just a reborn little girl now. Seeing that Anka blindly disregarded human life, he was naturally a little upset. But Javiers also knows that these guys have become inhuman monsters, they are all perishers, and death in Joy 1.6 is the final fate of all perishers. Qin Sheng shot out a psychic energy that cut off the entire house from the outside world. The location of the abandoned nest has been determined to be in the Leone mansion, right? You can't go wrong. Javiers patted his chest, looking confident. Qin Sheng chuckled and nodded. Don't take it lightly, maybe our tracks have been noticed by Slanesh. If that's the case, then this Delch's grand meeting will be a complete grand feast. Hongman Banquet. What is Hongman Banquet? Javiers asked with wide eyes. Qin Sheng smiled wryly and rubbed Javier's head. Tell me why you insist on letting me participate in this grand event. There is an auction in the Delch's event, maybe there will be something we need. 67%. Chapter 325 Faka Crystal Nucleus Vein. Our immediate goal is to find the abandoned nest. Qin Sheng was slightly puzzled, and said so. Javiers waved his hands again and again. That's not the case. Aren't Anbiria's mother and Yeshuang's mother conquering the scientific logic of the subspace, but without the key things, there is no way to study and understand it. The key thing. Qin Sheng raised his eyebrows lightly. For example, the motor source of the subspace pump body. Javiers hadn't spoken yet, and on Qin Sheng's shoulder, the mechanical bird Romic chirped. The level of technology in the subspace has been mixed with black magic. It can be said that it is not just a simple technology, it is already between technology and a more advanced dimension. Psychic energy is a kind of application of black magic, and the motor source of this subspace pump body is similar to the reactor of a battleship in the present universe. It can infuse the weapon hull with the power of black magic. Quote. Qin Sheng sat on the chair and rubbed his chin. So, if we get this subspace pump body motor source, we will also put on the agenda to conquer the subspace scientific research plan. Exactly 28 is the case. Romic nodded like a peck at rice. That's something I really want to see. Qin Sheng chuckled and rubbed Javier's head. You're still smart, little guy. Feeling the temperature of Qin Sheng's palm, Javier turned his head embarrassedly, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there must be a subspace pump body motor source appearing in the auction. What is the velocity of time here? Qin Sheng asked Romic. Probably much better than the chaotic time and space outside. After all, blissful heaven needs to refine desires through countless pleasures. The time and space here is extremely stable, which is about 1 to 3 in proportion to the current universe. That way, there's plenty of time. In Ruin Tien, the extreme chaos caused the flow of time to become confused, even reaching 1 to 1000. If this flow of time was followed, Qin Sheng couldn't wait. But thinking of this, a surprising idea suddenly appeared in Qin Sheng's mind. On Qin Sheng's shoulder, the mechanical bird Romic suddenly trembled. Emperor, don't you want to? Although there are countless resources in Destroyer Heaven that we can collect and use, the flow of time there is too fast after all. If we can take down Slanesh's fallen palace and set up our stronghold here, with a time flow rate of 1 to 3, even if we stay in the subspace for 10 or 20 years, the present universe will not change much. Quote. As soon as this remark came out, not only Romic was horrified, but even Elise was a little horrified. If it is divided according to level, the 4 evil gods have even surpassed the limit of the 8th level demon, and reached the supreme level of the 9th level. Now we can hardly fight against the 8th level demon. Romic gave a pertinent suggestion, but Qin Sheng chuckled. It's okay, these are not problems for us. If it is an ordinary civilization, then of course it is a problem, a huge problem. But for Qin Sheng, what fear is there? With the 10,000-fold amplification system in hand, there is no fear at all. After everyone rested, Qin Sheng had time to look at the map that the system had drawn in his mind. Although the entire subspace is full of chaos and disorder, but for the demons that exist in it, it is also a world with a different order. For example, in this sinking palace now, it seems that there is not even any problem on the surface, but it is just unilaterally magnifying a certain aspect of desire and making it infinitely expanded. In addition, the existence of currency is also the key to establishing the order in the disorder of the entire subspace. This Faka crystal nucleus is the most critical thing. Not only because it can be used as currency, but also because the materialized psionic energy sealed in the Faka crystal nucleus can be used for scientific research, transformation of black magic, or direct digestion and absorption to quickly improve one's own strength. In this way, the value of Faka's crystal nucleus can even reach 1 to 10,000 gold coins. However, after Qin Sheng received the reward from Anka Bilu, the increase in the system did not simply increase the multiplication of those Falca crystal nuclei by 10,000 times, but directly gave Qin Sheng a sheet marked with the method a map of where the Urca crystal core veins are located. This is the first time that Qin Sheng has obtained an increase in two attributes that are completely different between the two. Although the Faka crystal nucleus vein map is also related to the Faka crystal nucleus, the map itself is just a piece of paper. It seems that the 10,000-fold amplification system has transformed. Thinking of this, Qin Sheng suddenly recalled that the void liquid he obtained when he first entered Destroyer Heaven was transformed into a complete void-spawning corpse under the transformation of the system. At that time, Qin Sheng hasn't noticed anything wrong yet. But thinking about it now, such a change in the system seems to be more humane. And this value, I'm afraid it's not just a 10,000-fold increase. In one ore load, the number of Faka crystal nuclei mined is not just tens of millions. Romic, do you know that in this subspace, there are other Faka crystal nucleus veins, which are no man's land? Emperor, how is this possible? The subspace has been formed for tens of billions of years, and the four evil gods have been entrenched and fighting for so many years, but if there is even a little bit of resources in 343, they will fight without any room. As the most precious resource in the subspace, Faka crystal nuclei have already been mined and discovered, and they are gone. Quote. Qin Sheng had a smile on his face. Then do you know where these Faka crystal nucleus veins are? This is almost a well-known thing in the subspace, except for those idiots who are full of slaughter in the killing sky. As Ramik's voice fell, Qin Sheng's fingertips surged with bursts of psionic light, and finally drew a map in front of Qin Sheng, a map that accurately depicted all directions in the subspace. Quote. Romik's mechanical eyes blinked, and a flash of disbelief flashed spiritually. This map, marked on it, can't be the Faka crystal nucleus vein. Exactly. No way. No way. The mechanical bird Romik was jumping and screaming for a long time, but he had to admit that the map was drawn too delicately. This location is something I have never heard of. I have never known that there is such a Faka crystal nucleus vein. My lord, how did you get this coordinate? Qin Sheng said mysteriously. The secret of heaven must not be revealed. The next moment, Qin Sheng flicked his fingers, and the spiritual energy dissipated. 68%. Chapter 326. The Grand Party begins. Chapter 326. The Grand Event begins. The speed of time in paradise is not an exaggeration. Even if Qin Sheng stays here for a long time, he doesn't need to worry about what's going on in the universe. Therefore, he spends several days with Ramik, and the invisible Hobbes and Yi Liz play on the 5th floor of this sunken palace. It has to be said that after all, blissful heaven is the place that symbolizes all desires in the subspace, and all the entertainment facilities here are too exaggerated. During the day, all the sinking people are no different from ordinary people, working daily, earning copper coins and silver coins. At night, as the last touch of purple Roland clouds in the sky completely transform into pale pink, the 5th floor of the entire sinking palace will undergo tremendous changes. Everything that symbolizes the roots of desire gradually surfaced. Qin Sheng may be the only non-sinking person in the entire sinking palace, feeling the absurdity in the sinking palace. Even with Qin Kang's consciousness, he is a little fascinated. This subspace is too powerful. Whenever night fell, Qin Sheng would immediately return to the Haribo or pavilion to isolate himself from the outside world. If things go on like this, in the 5th floor of this sinking palace, even if they are not sinking people, they will be completely eroded and become fallen apostles who enjoy their desires. 3 days later, Qin Ming knocked on Qin Sheng's door. Grown-ups. Qin Sheng stretched out his hand to hook, and the psychic barrier in the room dissipated. Javiers and Elise also fell into nothingness, unaware. Come in. Following Qin Sheng's voice, the door creaked and was pushed open. The Delches event is about to begin. Hearing this, Qin Sheng raised his eyebrows lightly. In the past few days in the sinking palace, Qin Sheng also knew the specific procedure of this grand event in Delches. Finally come. As Qin Sheng got up, the mechanical bird Romic on his shoulder also seemed a little excited. After all, before this, Romic, as a 5th-level demon under Tzeentch, had absolutely no chance of entering the sinking palace, let alone participating in the grand event of Delches. Logically speaking, Del Casey events are generally held within the 5th floor. Such an event, held on the 5th floor, has very little income, but this time, Qin Sheng's arrival just in time. A group of people walked out of the door, and Anka Bilu had been waiting for a long time in the hall on the 4th floor of Hariboor Pavilion. Most of the Hariboor Pavilion, which was destroyed by Qin Sheng's psychic light beam, has been renovated in just 3 days, and it is even more magnificent than before. Qin Sheng clicked his tongue secretly, and had to say, this Anka Bilu is a duke after all, a duke in a sunken palace, and everything he enjoys is beyond the reach of ordinary people. Oh my friend. Seeing Qin Sheng's arrival, Anka Bilu got up happily, and every foot of that hill-like body stepped on the Hariboor Pavilion was enough to cause the huge Hariboor Pavilion to tremble. When Anka Bilu came to Qin Sheng narrowed his eyes slightly. Duke Anka Bilu, since the grand event of Delches has already started, let's go and watch it. Of course, but before that, there was a sly smile on the corner of Anka Bilu's mouth. Someone has already heard about your strength, and they are extremely upset. Hearing this, Qin Sheng's slightly squinted eyes widened, filled with disdain. Qin Sheng not only did not deny Qin Sheng's speculation, but took a tacit attitude. Since they all believed that they were the incarnation of the 4th-level monster, it also saved Qin Sheng a lot of trouble. And the 4th-level monsters are generally seen in the 3rd-level sinking palace. Even in the 4th-level sinking palace, there are very few 4th-level monsters. As for the 5th floor, not to mention the 4th-level monsters, even the 3rd-level monsters think this place is too boring. Now that Qin Sheng has emerged, a suspected 4th-level monster, he will naturally arouse the novelty of the entire 5th-level elite. Who? Qin Sheng spoke slowly. Anka Bilu clapped his hands, and from outside the hall, a group of people came up slowly, tall and short, fat and thin, human race and foreign race, everything was available. These are all in the 5th floor, and they can be regarded as highly respected existences. Qin Sheng who came here now is to see if Qin Kong is as tyrannical as Anka City Lu Zongzong said. It's just an ordinary human race, Anka Bilu, I think you are really confused. Among the crowd, someone sneered. Qin Sheng turned his head slowly, his gaze swept away slightly, and everyone present felt a chill in their necks, and the head of the person who spoke just now flew up, pulling up a slender bloodline. There was a muffled sound, and the head hit the ground heavily. The coercion transformed by the spiritual energy finally exploded in the head. Filthy. Qin Sheng snorted softly. If everything is so boring, I don't think there is any need to go to this grand event in Delches. Anka Bilu laughed and said, Good. Good, my friend, this kind of strength is enough to shut their mouths. As he spoke, Anka Bilu waved his hand, and several servants brought the golden treasure chest full of Faka crystal cores again. My lord, calm down, there are more interesting things above the grand event of Delches, waiting for you to watch. The corners of Anka Bilu's mouth extended exaggeratedly to the sides of his head, and Qin Sheng sneered, even if it's the 3rd floor Delches event, I don't think so, how interesting is the 5th floor? As soon as this remark came out, the smile on Anka Bilu's face did not change, but there was a little bit of fear in the depths of his eyes. As for the other lords in the hall, they were even more shocked. Qin Sheng waved his hand indifferently. Go early and come back early. Walk. Anka blindly greeted him repeatedly, and followed a group of people to leave the Hariboor Pavilion and headed straight for the Leone Mansion. At this moment, a large number of excellent people gathered in the Leone Mansion. Apart from those who came to participate in the grand event in Delches, most of them heard about the event and came to see the excitement. As soon as Qin Sheng appeared on the stage, everyone was shocked. Who is that human race? Why haven't I seen it before? The Duke of Anka Bilu is actually following behind him. Look, not only the Duke of Anka Bilu, almost half of the dukes are following behind him. There were endless discussions on the scene, but Qin Sheng turned a deaf ear. Anka Bilu followed behind Qin Sheng, but he didn't have the slightest thought of being ashamed. This trip itself is to take advantage of Qin Sheng's reputation to benefit himself. Regardless of primary or secondary, Anka Bilu has now been completely overwhelmed by Qin Sheng's strength. Get out of the way. King Pyralu is here. Just when Qin Sheng was about to enter the Leone mansion, behind Qin Sheng, a domineering voice sounded. 68%. Chapter 327 You make me kneel, I let you die. Chapter 327 You make me kneel, I let you die. Following Qin Sheng's prestige, behind everyone was a chariot made entirely of gold, inlaid with countless luxurious jewels. Under the chariot, nearly 100 attendants were opening up the road, and that arrogant and domineering voice came from among the attendants, who seemed to be the leader of the team. The chariot was drawn by 5 seahorse beasts in platinum armor, and on the chariot sat a prince. The division of ranks in this sunken palace has to be redefined at each level. For example, the Duke on the 4th level is several levels lower than the Duke on the 3rd level, and the Duke is already the limit that ordinary people can reach. And further up, there is a prince like King Pyralu on this chariot. The princes are the ruling class that decides most of the affairs of each sunken palace. As for the Duke, to these princes, he is nothing more than an ordinary person who is a little stronger at best. Qin Sheng rubbed his chin, and the group of dukes behind him gave way one after another. Seeing this, Enka Blind Lu also had a flash of fear in his eyes, and subconsciously wanted to take Qin Sheng away. But at this moment, Qin Sheng's body vibrated 963 with a psionic coercion, forcing Enka Bilu down. Enka Blind Lu was stunned for a moment, and then the arc of the corner of his mouth became more and more arrogant. The 4th level demon is much stronger than the 5th level prince. The so-called princes or dukes are just perishers, and they haven't escaped from this category. As for the 4th level demon, the existence that can meet the Prince of Desire is far, far beyond them. At this moment, Enka Blind Lu has completely regarded Qin Sheng as a 4th level demon who came to experience life. If Qin Sheng is willing to make a move and fight this King Pai Luolu, then it is natural what Enka Blind Lu wanted to see. Qin Sheng rubbed his chin. Just stand here, don't you want to stand out and let these guys think highly of you? Then don't take half a step back. After saying that, Qin Sheng was calm and composed, and didn't take King Pyralu seriously at all. On the chariot, King Pyralu held a scepter that seemed to be carved entirely from the crystal nucleus of Fa Carl, and stared closely at Qin Sheng with a pair of pale purple eyes. Who would dare not let me see this king? As soon as King Pyralu's words fell, the attendant of the team leader rushed up. When you see King Pyralu, why don't you back away? Why should I avoid it? There was a hint of mockery at the corner of Qin Sheng's mouth, and his tone was full of frivolity. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. Even those dukes who had seen the horror of Qin Sheng couldn't help showing a joke. After all, there is a prince on the chariot. Who is that? How dare you be so arrogant? It seems that he is not a simple person. The duke is all behind him, and he has a lot of background. Hey, so what if you are not young? Here is the world of princes and princes. This kid will suffer. The people who watched the excitement around talked a lot, which further fueled the arrogance of the team leader and attendant. What kind of thing are you? How dare you talk back? As he said that, the attendant slapped him straight towards Qin Sheng's face. This palm roared like a wind. Obviously, the strength of the attendants is not weak. If it is divided according to the strength, the attendant of the team leader alone is enough to easily deal with the Zerg elite that Ankazilu raised in captivity a few days ago. But to Qin Sheng, this attendant is nothing more than an ant. Qin Sheng snorted softly, overflowing with psychic pressure. The attendant's slap stopped a few inches away from Qin Sheng's face, and he couldn't move forward, as if there was an air wall blocking the connection between Qin Sheng and the attendant. The attendant gritted his teeth, but he couldn't succeed. Seeing that he couldn't do it, he closed his hands and stood up, sneering, "Okay, it turns out that there is something to rely on. I didn't let you go just now, but now I want you to kneel down." Kowtow 3 times respectfully to King Pyralu. Damn untouchables, give it to CIFD me. As the attendants shouted loudly, all the attendants around the chariot rushed forward. Qin Sheng smiled contemptuously. What are you? You are also able to tell me what to do. A burst of terrifying spiritual energy rushed up, and the attendants felt as if a huge weight was pressing on their spines, forcing them to kneel down, only to hear the crisp sound of kneeling down, accompanied by waves of pain howling. The kneecaps of these attendants were all shattered, kneeling on the ground and unable to even stand up. Qin Sheng raised his eyes slightly, looked at the leader's attendant, and then glanced at King Pyralu on the golden chariot. At this moment, King Pyralu's face changed drastically, as if he saw some monster. From the perspective of King Pyralu, it is natural to see that such a spiritual coercion is definitely beyond the grasp of ordinary people. I am afraid that the person in front of him is a great demon. You make me kneel, I let you die, it's reasonable, there is no problem. As he spoke, Qin Sheng pointed out that the psychic energy was compressed in Qin Sheng's fingertips, and it shot out like a bullet, piercing through the eyebrows of the team leader and attendant, without slowing down, and passing by King Pyralu's ear. Do you have any objections? When Qin Sheng glanced over King Pyralu was sitting on the chariot trembling all over. Don't dare, don't dare. Very sensible. As soon as the words fell, Qin Sheng walked into the Leone mansion swaggeringly, followed by Anka Zhilu. The rest of the dukes were all shocked. That's right, that's a level 4 demon, so what if he's a prince? Where did that trash Anka villain find this guy? It's so hateful, so hateful. Why wasn't I the one who met the 4th level monster? Almost all of these dukes used the savings they had accumulated for many years to buy titles from these princes. And in this 5th level, princes are already almost the highest existence. Even if they have won the title, they are far inferior to princes, and they cannot make a leap in class. Princes are always on top of these dukes a big mountain. It is precisely because of this that they attach so much importance to the Del Cases event this time. If they can meet any higher level adults at the Del Cases event, it can be said that they will soar into the sky. Now that the grand event has not yet started, Enka Bilu has already embraced such a thigh. When the grand event is in progress, Enka Bilu will have more room for turnover among the top management. Of course, Qin Sheng didn't care what other people thought. Under the watchful eyes of the guards at the gate, Qin Sheng and Enka Bilu walked into the Leone mansion. As soon as you enter this mansion, you will see a huge dance floor in front of you, surrounded by 5 floors of stands, and the higher you go, the fewer people there are. Which floor can you get to? Qin Sheng glanced at Enka Bilu, and Enka Bilu grinned and said, it's only on the 3rd floor. But now with your help, I can go even to the 5th floor. 68%. Chapter 328 Am I not? Chapter 328 Am I not? Qin Sheng and Enka Bilu turned directly to the attic on one side and walked towards the grandstand. Most of the people on the dance floor have some assets in their hands, but those who have no rights, the powerful and powerful, are all in the stands. Enka Bilu arrived so soon. When they arrived at the stands on the 2nd floor, someone had already recognized Enka Bilu. After all, that hill-like body was too obvious. It is a disadvantage. How do I say this? Just outside, Enka Bilu laughed loudly again, but kept silent, but these laughter aroused everyone's interest, and they asked questions quickly. Qin Sheng didn't have the slightest interest in Enka Bilu's twisted taste. But he was too lazy to speak. After a long time, everyone still couldn't get any news from Enka Bilu, so they lost interest and stopped asking. At this time, someone also noticed Qin Sheng, who was following Enka Bilu. Why haven't I seen it before? This is an adult that you can't afford to provoke together. The corners of Enka Bilu's mouth curled up, and there was a trace of unpredictability in that terrifying and weird smile. This sentence once again aroused the interest of everyone. But when he saw that Qin Sheng was just an ordinary human race, he didn't quite believe Enka Zhilu's words. Qin Sheng was naturally too lazy to explain. Enka Bilu chatted a few words, and everyone went towards the 3rd floor. Not long after Qin Sheng and Enka Bilu left, people poured in outside the mansion. As a large number of people entered the stands on the 2nd floor, everyone knew what happened. That seemingly ordinary person is so overwhelming that King Pyralu can't lift his head. That's right, that lord ordered to kill Pai Luolu Wang Ping's closest follower during the day, and Pai Luolu Cho didn't even dare to say a word. Tisk, you really deserve it. That grandson often oppresses ordinary businessmen like you and me. Speak less and less. King Pyralu has come in. Following the prestige, at the entrance of the mansion, King Pyralu was holding a cane in his hand, his face was livid. As soon as he entered the mansion, King Pyralu headed for the elevator on the side and went straight to the 5th floor. At this moment, Enka Bilu was arguing with a group of dukes who belonged to his class on the 3rd floor. Not long after, 10 people also walked up to the 3rd floor stand. When they saw Enka Bilu and Qin Sheng, the dukes who saw Qin Sheng's domineering and almost limitless behavior outside couldn't help trembling. Grown-ups. When everyone walked by Qin Sheng's side, they all respectfully called their lord. Enka Bilu stood on one side, seeming to be extremely useful. Qin Sheng nodded in response, but the people who got to the stands in advance didn't know what happened outside the mansion, so they asked questions one after another. Who is this? Such a big background, let you all be called adults. That's right, it looks like it's just an ordinary common human race. Shish, shut up, you don't know what's going on out there. After everyone knew what happened outside the mansion, just standing there by Qin Shang was already frightening. On Qin Shang's shoulder, Ramek twittered strangely. No one could understand, but Qin Shang knew what Ramek meant. You're going to have a problem now. How do I say this? I noticed that in this mansion, there is actually a level 4 monster. Ramek paused, and then said, the strength you have shown outside is not something everyone can have, and you also know that they have long treated you as a 4th level monster, but since you provoked that King Pyralu, I'm afraid this 4th level monster will come and find you soon. No problem. Qin Shang was calm and composed, without the slightest worry. Ramek raised his wings, and didn't say any more. After all, Qin Shang can always save the day, and Ramek is used to it. Hobbiers, have you noticed where the abandoned nest is? It's nearby, but it seems to be on a higher 5th floor. So that's the case, then wait for the good news. The nest of abandonment is a singular point above the dimension of space, and one can only enter it by touching this point and propelling it with psionic energy. Now that they have arrived in the Leone mansion, it is easy to find that singularity. At this moment, on the 5th floor of the Leone mansion, King Pyralu said angrily, that guy seems to be a 4th level monster. The grandstand on the 5th floor is extremely luxurious, surrounded by a huge round table, and the princes on the 5th floor gathered together. In this round table, a humanoid with a slender body and a pale face, somewhat similar to Stika, sat on the main seat. The rest of the extremely princes were all extremely respectful. Obviously, this person was the 4th level monster that Ramek had noticed. I haven't received any notification that there is another 4th level demon here. As Orca said, a harsh voice came out. The other extremely princely eyes rolled around, speculating in their hearts. A few days ago, didn't the prince order the keepers to search for outsiders in the entire sinking palace? Could the 4th level demon you mentioned be the outsider that the prince talked about? Point 0. Pyralu Wang Meng stood up from his seat. That guy doesn't look like a big devil at all. Orca tapped the round table with her finger, and said slowly after a while, where is that man? It's in this mansion. King Pyralu seemed to have grasped a life-saving straw. Among the people present, only Orca helped King Pyralu get back the place. As Orca got up, everyone walked towards the 3rd floor. The owner of the Leone mansion, cast member Leon's mouth also showed a trace of unpredictable arc. This is a good show. If it's really that wandering person, cast member Leone believes that a big battle will break out in this mansion today. A collision between level 4 monsters. This is not the exciting scene they can usually see in the Colosseum and the underground arena. But at this moment, Qin Shang was sitting in the stands on the 3rd floor, and Anka Bilu beside him was chomping at the delicacies served by the attendants. There were bursts of exclamations in the distance, and Ramek shouted, trouble is coming. Qin Shang rested his hands on the armrest, and Zhang didn't lie a bit. For Qin Shang, this is not troublesome at all. Not long after, a group of people came to Qin Shang. King Pyralu's crystal core scepter pointed at Qin Shang. That's him. Hearing the sound, Olka glanced at Qin Shang. I seem to have never seen you before. Who are you? You are definitely not one of the ranks of 4th level demons. Orca snapped 7 times. 68%. Chapter 329. What is Whisper of the Void? Following Orca's fall, all eyes on the 3rd floor were focused on Qin Shang. Didn't your Lord Prince send a secret keeper a few days ago to look for outsiders in the entire sinking palace? Master Olka said that he is not a 4th level monster, so could it be? Damn outsider, who are you? At this moment, everyone showed repulsive expressions on their faces, and their gazes looking at Qin Shang were also full of murderous intentions and unkindness. Even Anka Bilu, who was standing beside Qin Shang, seemed a little at a loss, with scrutiny in his eyes, never leaving Qin Shang for a moment. Qin Shang sat on the luxurious treasure chair, calm and composed, as if he didn't take Orca seriously. You said that I am not a 4th level demon. After a long time, Qin Shang spoke slowly, and there was nothing wrong with 880 in his voice. Orca sneered. I've never met you. You said you were a 4th level monster. After a pause, Orca looked around, and said loudly, all the big demons under the prince have a roster and a mark left by the prince. I want to ask, where is your mark? Stupid outsider, who sneaked into the sinking palace and didn't know how to behave like a man with his tail tucked in. Now that he's showing his feet, let me see what you have to say. Hang him out. Burn him with the fiercest fire. The curses continued, and the corners of Qin Shang's mouth curled up. I'm really not a 4th level monster. As soon as this remark came out, everyone in the audience was shocked. Behind Qin Shang, Enkabilu showed a hint of ferocity on his face. It can be said that all of Enkabilu's confidence now comes from the person in front of him, but now that the 4th level demon Olka is confronting him, Qin Shang says that he is not level 4 demon. Afterwards, no matter what, I will be implicated. Before Enkabilu could speak, Qin Shang got up slowly and looked directly at Orca in front of him. I never said that I am a 4th level monster. A level 4 monster is like an ant in my eyes. At this moment, Qin Shang heard Ramik's voice. This fellow seems to be Orca, Stikka's younger brother. Hearing this, Qin Shang's eyes rolled around. That Stikka died in his own hands, and the Olka in front of him turned out to be Stikka's younger brother, and now he has more opportunities to deal with it. In an instant, with Qin Shang as the center, a terrifying vortex of psionic energy swirled up, roaring in front of Orca. I've seen your big brother, but he's not as impetuous or dull as you. As he said that, Qin Shang's eyes became extremely deep, like an abyss, and Orca's spirit fell into it, unable to extricate himself. Romik exclaimed. This is the calendar area of Curious Cthulhu. Behind Qin Shang, Habas put his hands on Qin Shang's shoulders, and a wave of power that belonged to the origin of the evil in the void poured into Qin Shang's body. Although Qin Shang had just cast Whispers of the Void a few days ago, and it hadn't cooled down yet, but now with the help of Javiers, Qin Shang once again cast Whispers of the Void, and Orca in front of him was above the spiritual power. He was not half as accomplished as Qin Shang, so he was naturally pulled into confusion by the Whispers of the Void. Qin Shang's voice reverberated in Orca's mind. In just a few breaths, Orca's sea of consciousness was outlined a legend of a 6th level demon, hiding in the dark for the prince. Dealing with many things. With the help of Whisper of the Void, Orca's gaze gradually changed from full of murderous intent to full of fear. In front of him, Qin Shang's identity has also changed from an outsider to a well-deserved 6th level monster, and he is even in existence of the same level as his dead big brother. How can a level 4 monster come to trouble a level 6 monster? You must know that the entire blissful heaven is the latest among the 4 heavens, and it is precisely because of this that although Slanesh's power is not weak, there are very few big demons under his command, and the entire blissful heaven can't even find it an 8th level demon emerged. Stikka, who died in the hands of Qin Shang, was already one of the strongest demons in the entire paradise. Now that there is a 6th level monster suddenly, it should be ridiculous, but under the blessing of the Whisper of the Void, Orca did not hesitate at all, and has completely believed in the identity fabricated by Qin Shang. As the glare in Qin Shang's eyes dissipated, Orca fell to his knees in front of Qin Shang with a plop. This subordinate didn't know that your majesty was here, and if you speak rudely, you deserve death. The smile on Qin Shang's face didn't change. He waved his hand indifferently. My lord prince sent me to the outskirts to look for traces of outsiders. I didn't tell anyone about this. Those who don't know are innocent. Thank you, my lord, for your forgiveness. After Orca knocked his head several times, Qin Shang naturally sat on the precious chair. His expression didn't change at all from the beginning to the end, as if it should be so. Go away now. Qin Shang was seated, and Olka stood up and angrily reprimanded all the masters who were sinking in the driving of the 5th girl behind her. For Orca, today is a big embarrassment. A 6th level demon can be regarded as the supreme existence in charge of life and death rewards and punishments in the entire sinking palace. Although there is still a 7th level demon on it, but that it is even more illusory and invisible. Although Orca is Stikka's younger brother, after all, Orca is only a 4th level demon, and he doesn't know much about the higher level managers of the entire sinking palace. It is precisely because of this reason that Qin Shang was able to easily succeeded. Of course, the help of Javiers and Whispers of the Void is indispensable. Seeing Orca running away in a desperate way, all the people in the 3rd floor who had just shouted suddenly felt like they were on their backs, and they didn't even dare to look at Qin Shang again, and fled away in a desperate manner. And Enkabilu, who was behind Qin Shang, was glad that he did not have any disrespectful behavior just now. This lord seems to be more terrifying than I imagined. Enkabilu's 1.9 back was soaked in cold sweat, and his luxurious dress looked a little sagging. Qin Shang naturally didn't care about other people's opinions. After all, after today, there would no longer be any level 6 monsters in the sinking palace. Elise, who was hidden in nothingness, couldn't help chuckling. My lord emperor really has some bad tastes. What kind of bad taste is this? If Orca is not dismissed, there will be more troubles. After a long time, Qin Shang got up. Go, the 4th floor of the law. Follow my lord. Enka Bilu's attitude was extremely low at this time, as if Qin Sheng's servant, without the slightest bit of domineering in Harry Bower Pavilion. After the two left, the dukes on the third floor greedily sucked in the air as if they had been reborn. Enka blind Lunang has such a thigh, I am afraid that after today, he will soar into the sky. 169%. Chapter 330. The fifth floor, the conduct of the auction. Chapter 330. The fifth floor, the conduct of the auction. On the fifth floor of the Leone mansion, cast member Leone smiled strangely, but his eyes locked on Qin Sheng through the distance between the third and fifth floors. Olka, who was able to suppress him, knelt down on the spot. What is the origin of this person? As far as Castiglione is concerned, in the fifth floor, Castiglione is almost the highest executives, even in the fourth floor, he can feel like a duck to water, because of this. Castiglione's vision is not comparable to this group of fat princes. A fifth-level demon, even higher. Castiglione's eyeballs were rolling, and he was already thinking about how to catch Qin Sheng, a big fish. It's a pity that Castiglione's idea will come to nothing after all. When Qin Sheng came to the fourth floor of the Leone mansion, Javier's voice came to his ears. It's near the fourth floor, and there's no need to go to the fifth floor. Qin Sheng's eyes narrowed slightly. Then when the auction starts and we get what we want, we will start looking for singularities and leave first. No problem. At this moment, in the luxurious hexagonal palace of the sunken palace, Slanesh was lying on a soft and heavy blanket with his waist swinging, his eyes were like silk, and although his androgynous body was enough to drive all living beings crazy. Prince, news came from the fifth floor that Orca bowed down after seeing someone. Kneel down. A look of surprise flashed across Slanesh's face, and he stood up from the blanket like a swimming snake. Isn't the fifth floor holding the Delch's Grand Festival, and Orca sits as a fourth-level demon, so who else on the fifth floor can make him kneel down? I haven't seen a new face, but it is said that the power of spiritual power is extremely powerful, even comparable to a sixth-level monster. All keepers, head to the fifth floor. After the guards who came before conveyed the information to Slanesh, Slanesh immediately knew the origin of the person who made Orca bow down. Qin Sheng, it really is you. How dare you sneak into my palace, what audacity! I want you to be completely immersed in endless desires. Slanesh's face showed a slightly distorted expression, and now Slanesh's attitude towards Qin Sheng is almost paranoid. Just thinking of Qin Sheng being tortured by his own hands is enough to make Slanesh happy. Following Slanesh's order, in the entire hexagonal palace, a dense mass of secret keepers flapped their wings like manta rays, ran across the sky, and marched towards the fifth floor. But at this moment, Qin Sheng, who was still in the Leone mansion, hadn't noticed the danger yet. Today, the second phase of the Del Cases event, the auction has already begun. Today's focus is all on Qin Sheng. Whether these dukes or princes, they have long lost interest in talking to each other. As the auction kicked off, the dance floor on the first floor was also emptied, replaced by a long table made entirely of gold, on which were placed treasures covered with red satin. In the center of the dance floor, the auctioneer wearing a gray woolen dress is holding a pure gold hammer and is introducing all kinds of treasures. And Qin Sheng of the fourth station, sitting on the main seat of the whole field, has no interest in these treasures at all. Javiers hid beside Qin Sheng and told Qin Sheng what should be auctioned. As for Enka Bilu, he had already used Qin Sheng's name to go to the fifth floor, and chatted with all the dignitaries and nobles in the fifth floor of the entire sunken palace. The motor source of the subspace pump body is not the kind of conventional technological equipment that can be deduced according to normal logic. Listening to Javier's words, Qin Sheng frowned slightly. What should that be like? Before that, according to Qin Sheng's conjecture, the motor source of the subspace pump body should be some kind of engine-like existence, but now it seems to be quite different from my own idea. It may be a huge stone containing energy, or it may be the heart of some kind of alien beast in the subspace. Everything is possible. Javiers chuckled, and Qin Sheng also chuckled lightly and said, so this thing is just a carrier to convert normal energy into the black magic needed for the subspace, and use it for operation. Exactly, it doesn't matter what kind of form it exists in. When the two were talking, the auction had gone on for more than a dozen rounds, and the entire Leone mansion fell into a frenzy. Tens of thousands of bids will be competed for as the auction price. Except for the source of subspace pump movement that Havers said, Qindao should not have the slightest interest in these strange things in the subspace. Finally, when the auction reached the 20th round, a huge cart pushed a polished colorful stone onto the auction stage. The origin of this stone is unclear, but the power contained in it is not small, even comparable to the entirety of a third-level demon. But that's all there is to it. This time it can be brought up for auction, and it's all a lottery for everyone to have fun and take a break at halftime. The starting price, 3,000 Faka crystal nuclei, the auction begins. As the auctioneer's voice fell, everyone present wondered if the organizer of Del Casey was crazy. A stone whose origin and purpose are not known, but the power in its 630 is a little stronger, and the starting price even needs to be 3,000 Falca crystal nuclei, and only a mentally ill person will bid. This was the thought in everyone's mind, and Javier's voice came from the ears of Qin Sheng on the 4th channel. This is the thing, buy it. Qin Sheng raised his hand slowly, 5,000 Faka crystal nuclei. The sound resounded, once again plunged the entire mansion into frenzy. 5,000 Faka crystal nuclei, who? Go crazy. What can such a stone of unknown origin be used for? As a decoration. Ha ha ha, there are really people who are stupid and have a lot of money. Everyone followed the sound, and when they saw that the bidder was Qin Sheng, all the voices were suppressed again. The auctioneer was also stunned for a moment, as if he didn't expect that someone would actually bid to buy this stone. 5,000 Faka crystal nuclei once. 5,000 Faka crystal nuclei twice. 5,000 Faka crystal nuclei 3 times. Congratulations, my lord. As the pure gold hammer rang the golden bell, the servants came forward and dragged the cart, pulling the stone up to the 4th floor. Emperor, I sensed a trace of the aura of the great demons under Slanesh, and it seems that there is trouble. Well, let's go after taking the stone. 69%. Chapter 331. Slanesh descends. Chapter 331. The arrival of Slanesh. The door of the Leone mansion was pushed open, and the Delches family came, followed by several secret keepers who had transformed into human forms. All the secret keepers are level 4 monsters, and the strong among them can even reach the threshold of level 5 monsters. Although Slanesh knew that it was absolutely impossible for these big demons to win Qin Sheng, but as long as it was confirmed that it was Qin Sheng in this mansion in Leone, that was enough. Master Lorco. The cast member Leone stepped down from the attic stand immediately and came to receive them. After all, this grand event of Delches was entirely organized by the Delches family, and Castku Leone was barely an agent. When the Lord came, Castku Leone would naturally bow down. The name of the person who came was Delches Lorco, and he was considered to have some powerful status in the Delches family. Lorco grimaced. The prince sent me to capture the outsiders. Hearing this, Leon's complexion changed. Outsider. Looking at Lorco's expression, Qin Sheng was the first figure that popped up in Leon's mind. Keep quiet and let Orca come. Lorco waved his hand and said. Having been in a high position for many years, Leon still has the ability to judge the situation. Although Olka knelt down and confessed to Qin Sheng in front of everyone just now, but now that Lorco came with a group of keepers, it was obvious that something was wrong. On the 4th floor, the boulder had already been brought in front of Qin Sheng. This stone is 1 foot high, but it is not too big for these alien races who are as tall as 6 meters like a hill. Qin Sheng carefully looked at the stone in front of him. The light was overflowing, and the 5-color streamer was like a beating heart, always bright and sometimes dark. Besides, Qin Sheng couldn't see what was so special about this stone. Qin Sheng stroked the boulder slowly, and there was indeed a lot of power in it. After a long while, Qin Sheng frowned slightly, and Qin Sheng felt something strange in the boulder. It seems that it is not as simple as the full power of the 3rd-level demon. In the nothingness, Javier smiled triumphantly. How can you see what kind of power is hidden in this stone based on the vision of those guys alone? When I get back the ruining sky, let Anviria's mother and Yeshuang's mother study it. Not to mention the 3rd-level monster, it will be easy to polish it into a pump body that contains the ultimate strength of the 6th-level monster. Before Qin Sheng could speak, Ramak interrupted Qin Sheng's train of thought. My lord, now we need to escape. As Qin Sheng's psychic energy dissipated, on the bottom floor of the Leone mansion, Qin Sheng already felt several auras from the Keeper of Secrets. Did it come so fast? Qin Sheng grinned, and in the void, the figures of Elise and Javier slowly emerged. Elise stretched out her hand, and saw the dark purple light surge, wrapping around the boulder, engulfing it, and the huge boulder it disappeared in the blink of an eye. Elise's body is the demon of the plane, and things like space pockets can still be displayed by Elise. As the boulder disappeared, Qin Sheng's figure flashed, and Javier's and Elise followed closely behind Qin Sheng. A group of 3 people and 1 bird headed towards the singularity hidden in the 4th floor. On the first floor, Lorco, who thought he was strategizing, sensed the powerful wave of spiritual energy, and sternly shouted, "Give it to me. Grab this guy." Lorco gave an order, and the secret keeper behind him poured into the Leone mansion, revealing his body, and the huge Leone mansion seemed closed at this time. Waves of screams and sound waves that could arouse the wildest desires in people's hearts came straight to Qin Shang. Already got what he wanted, Qin Shang naturally didn't need to hide it anymore. The psychic energy swelled around Qin Shang's body, and countless beams of light shot out along Qin Shang's fingertips. Each beam of psychic light was enough to kill the keeper was completely incinerated. "Run there." With a flash of Lorco's figure, he flung out his palm, and 3 eyeball-sized glazed balls flew out and exploded in the air. Accompanied by the exclamation of the dukes and princes in the Leone mansion, the 3 crystal-clear glass balls turned into 3 black holes, absorbing and devouring everything around them, forming a triangle shape, trying to block Qin Shang's body all escape directions. At this moment, Elise's slender and charming figure leaned slightly, and pressed down with both hands. There was a loud noise in an instant, and the 3 black holes immediately disintegrated, and then turned into a series of spiritual energy, which was swallowed and absorbed by Elise. For Elise, this black hole has no threat at all. Lorco's idea is to temporarily stop Qin Shang, until the arrival of the sinner. After all, Lorco knew the strength of Qin Shang. Even Stika died in the hands of Qin Shang. He was just a pawn of the Delch's family. Although he was a bit powerful, how could he be Qin Shang's opponent? But Lorco didn't have the slightest worry. After all, this is the sinking palace. Even if Qin Shang has all kinds of skills, where can he escape to? When the evil god of Slaanesh arrives, Qin Shang will undoubtedly die. Is the singularity close? Qin Shang asked. Javiers pointed to the direction. Over there. In this Leone mansion, Qin Shang moved around, as swift as a stream of light, getting closer and closer to the singularity where the abandoned nest was hidden. The Leone mansion behind him was dilapidated and full of secret keepers. Crazy flocked to Qin Shang. Qin Shang turned his head and looked at Elise. "Help me stop them." 10 breaths. On Qin Shang's shoulder, the mechanical bird Ramek flapped its wings, and its palm-sized body was dispersed into a sky full of iron filings with quark-level fineness, mechanical state. It is even stronger than before, and has even reached the peak of the 5th level demon. 1 Ramek and 1 Elise are more than enough to stop these keepers. Javiers held complicated hand formulas in both hands, and murmured old sayings that would make people feel dizzy just listening to them. In the space in front of him, the singularity spread more and more, and gradually became a space that could accommodate a person to enter. Channel. Behind them, Ramek and Elise were fighting countless secret keepers, and when the singularity appeared, a force powerful enough to shock the entire paradise came from the outside world. Slaanesh comes. Qin Shang. Little mouse, you are so bold. The voice of Slaanesh came from far away, and the entire 5th floor of the sinking camp was shaken by it. Qin Shang's heart sank. How long will it take? 3 breaths. Cold sweat was already dripping from the forehead of Javiers, and at this moment, the Leone mansion was opened, and Slaanesh's mountain-like body appeared in Qin Shang's sight. 69%. Chapter 332. The Abandoned Nest, Breeding Evil. Chapter 332. The Abandoned Nest, Breeding Remnants. Under the twisted and ferocious hair crown, the snow-white curly hair hangs down to the back of the buttocks, and the pink skin reveals a bit of evil charm. On that face, which is enough to fascinate countless beings, there is a trace of playful smile. As if he had already regarded Qin Shang as a turtle in a urn, Slaanesh stretched out his slender and sharp fingers, trying to pinch Qin Shang. This was the first time Qin Shang saw Slaanesh's true appearance in the subspace. Slaanesh, as the embodiment of all desires, is absolutely well-deserved. Qin Shang clasped his hands together, and in an instant, there was a loud noise like a bell ringing in the sky above the entire sunken palace. The emperor's halo descended, and a round of pale, round sun reflected behind Qin Shang. He actually blocked Slaanesh for a while. Ha 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 ha, do you still have to stubbornly resist when you are about to die? Slaanesh's laughter was charming, but it also appeared ferocious and terrifying. All kinds of contradictions are superimposed on Slaanesh, but without exception, they are all served by absolute desires. Qin Shang's eyes were full of psionic energy. How about it? Walk. Javiers waved his little hand, and Elise and Ramek, who were resisting the keeper, jumped into the singularity that had expanded to the limit. Qin Shang smiled lightly at the giant shadow of Slaanesh in the air. When I come again next time, you will kneel at my feet. 990. After the words fell, Qin Sheng grabbed Javier's and escaped into the abandoned fish. As the singularity lost its strength, it collapsed and turned into a singularity and dissipated. With lingering fear in his heart, Qin Sheng fell to the ground. Only when he really faced an evil god, did Qin Sheng realize in his heart how huge the gap between himself and this Slanesh was. The evil god is far from being something he can handle. This is because Slanesh never thought that Qin Sheng would escape to the nest of abandonment, and took Qin Sheng as a plaything when he shot. Otherwise, if Slanesh made a move and the lion beat the rabbit with all his strength, Qin Sheng would have no chance of surviving. Looking around, I don't know how many years have passed in this abandoned nest, but there are no more living beings, but it can be vaguely seen that it looks like a nest, and the surroundings extend in all directions. 10 round hole-shaped passages connected the entire abandoned nest. And on the inner wall of this abandoned nest, it is full of moss, and under the erosion of the years, these stone walls have become turbid yellow. Javier's put his hands on his hips, and his face was full of pride. Now that ugly guy has nothing to do with us, we can leave as soon as we want, hee. Ramek caressed his heart with his wings. It's too scary, the evil god descended in person, it's really hard to survive. After a long while, Qin Sheng got up slowly. How is the spatial velocity here compared to the outside world? One day is one day, just like the current universe. Elise felt the underlying logic of the surrounding space and gave a reply. Qin Sheng nodded. Look for any remaining void liquid. Javier's was held by Qin Sheng's little hand, while Ramek and Elise turned to the other two directions to find the location of the void liquid. Although this little loli seems harmless to humans and animals, if she swallows the void fluid, even the vast void fluid that has existed for countless years in Ruintian and is almost as majestic as a galaxy, even makes this little girl a few short days. The hour is all taken away. If there is really a residual void liquid left in this abandoned nest, if Javier's catches it, I'm afraid he didn't drink it just to quench his thirst. Compared to Javier's, who has not yet grown up, the strongest combat power in Qin Sheng's hands is obviously Elise, the Xuanyuan Genesis. Therefore, Qin Sheng must be optimistic about Javier's and not let this little girl run around. Habels followed closely behind Qin Sheng, with an innocent smile on his face. Dad, are you reluctant for me to leave you? Hearing that there were black lines all over Qin's head, he smiled wryly and said, yes, so I have to bring you by my side. While talking, the two walked towards the depths of this intricate nest of abandonment. Not long after, Qin Sheng felt a sticky feeling coming from the surrounding space, as if he had walked into a thick fog. Dad, there is something delicious ahead. Javier's grabbed Qin Sheng's palm, and Qin Sheng's heart trembled suddenly, and he quickly picked up the little ancestor and carried him on his shoulder. Since it is said to be delicious, it must be the void liquid. Sure enough, as the sticky feeling in the space became stronger and stronger, a misty lake appeared in front of him, which seemed to stretch for tens of kilometers, but due to the fog obstructing his vision, Qin Sheng was almost approaching. Just discovered. Qin Sheng was overjoyed from the bottom of his heart, and his consciousness was connected to the location of Ramek and Elise, sharing this location. After a while, Ramek and Elise appeared in Qin Sheng's sight. The void fluid here is massive. After a pause, Qin Sheng glanced at Javier's. Although compared to the void liquid that Javier swallowed, this place is not even a drop in the bucket. But in front of him, the urgent need can be solved. Javier stuck out his tongue and laughed. Qin Sheng squinted his eyes and looked at the lake of void liquid in the abandoned nest, and vaguely saw a huge island-like monster floating on the lake. What is that? The giant was getting closer and closer, and when it appeared in Qin Sheng's line of sight, Qin Sheng gasped. Floating in this lake are several hollow corpses intertwined and entangled together, which makes it look like a small island. Javier's blinked, but there was no emotion in his eyes. Although this abandoned nest is where Javier's remembers, the memory of the reborn Javier's is only vague. She doesn't know what happened here at all, and she doesn't know that these empty corpses are her deceased relatives, or descendants. Qin Sheng strode forward. Since he is dead, the body left behind has become an excellent resource. However, there are so many void fluids here, and there are not a few corpses missing. Ramek, dig a hole and get drunk on these voids. Ramek blinked his eyes, looked at Qin Sheng, and recalled that Qin Sheng got that empty husk from nowhere, but it was thrown to Elise to devour and absorb it at the first time. Javier's waved his hand. Father, since they are all dead, they are meaningless. It is the final function of these corpses to improve their strength. Vaguely, Javier seemed to remember something, but he still said so. Qin Sheng was slightly taken aback, stared at Javier's for a long time, and nodded. When my power overwhelms the entire subspace, the evil of the void will return to the world. When Qin Sheng looked at the void liquid lake, a system prompt sounded in his mind. 69%. Chapter 333 False Will Body. Chapter 333 False Will Body. Congratulations on getting the void breeding husk X7. 10,000 times increase. Congratulations on obtaining the void climbing ancestor corpse times 1. In Qin Sheng's eyes, the pile of corpses that were piled up in the void like a small island in front of him were decomposed and peeled off, and the power contained in them became stronger and stronger, and finally condensed into an incomparably huge monster on the void liquid lake. The void breeds evil husks. Different from the ordinary void evil, this void evil looks more ferocious and terrifying. The sharp mouth parts just stay in the void, which is enough to split the surrounding space, making the entire abandoned single change extremely turbulent. Just one, its body is even bigger than the original 7 void breeds. Seeing this scene, Romik's beak opened slightly, and his mechanical eyes were filled with disbelief. Elise on the side didn't look at the corpse of the evil ancestor in front of her, but watched Qin Sheng closely. Having been with Qin Sheng for so long, Elise has also discovered that Qin Sheng seems to have some kind of special ability. Hobbiers looked at this husk, which could be said to block out the sun, and looked like a hill in the lake, with a strange light shining in his eyes. The ancestor of the void breeding evil, Hobbiers, and this corpse belongs to Hobbiers. Qin Sheng patted Habbles on the head. Do you recall anything? After a long time, Hobbiers shook his head. No. With the rebirth of Hobbes, the past that belonged to Hobbes is only left with memories. After all, the 4 evil gods worked together to seal and destroy Hobbes, including his physical body, which was also wasted in that battle. And the corpse in front of him now is the embodiment of the power of the system. Although the power in it is no different from that of Hobbiers, it has nothing to do with Hobbiers. Gently stroking the top of Hobbier's head, Qin Sheng said slowly, "One day you will recall everything again. Until then, I'll be with you." As soon as he finished speaking, Hobbiers jumped into Qin Sheng's arms, and Qin Sheng patted Hobbiers on the back. After a while, Qin Sheng said slowly, "How long will it take to devour this corpse?" "At least 2 years." Elise looked at the corpse in front of her and gave a reply. Qin Sheng nodded. The speed of time flow collapsed in destroying heaven, which is very different from that in the current universe, but in this nest of abandonment, the speed of time flow is equal to that of the current universe, even if it takes 2 years. It doesn't matter. Manipulating the spiritual energy to lift up the huge corpse in the lake, even the ancestor-level void-climbing corpse is almost weightless, and it is easy to drag it ashore. Throwing the husk of the ancestor to Elise to swallow and absorb, Qin Sheng's eyes were set on the void liquid lake in front of him. There is no comparison between the void liquid and the husk of the ancestor of the void breed. After all, it is not an exaggeration to say that the void liquid was born from the void breed. The quality of the two differs too much. However, with so much void liquid, no matter what, with the blessing of 10,000 times the increase, it can also get a lot of improvement. Qin Sheng stroked his chin and thought for a long time. As Qin Sheng raised his hand, spiritual energy covered the entire lake, and the system's notification sounded again. Congratulations on getting the void fluid lake times 1. 10,000 times increase. Congratulations on obtaining the false will body times 1. Note: the illusory will body is unique, and the void liquid will no longer be able to increase it. Qin Sheng was taken aback for a moment. This was the first time such a system notification sound appeared. There has never been a situation where any item is unique and cannot be increased again. However, when the system's notification sounded, Qin Sheng gradually became relieved. If so, no matter how much void liquid Habers swallowed, it wouldn't matter at all. Use. Although one thing was figured out, a second thing happened that Qin Sheng couldn't figure out. What is this false will body? With some doubts on Qin Sheng's face, he sneaked into the spiritual body with his consciousness. In Qin Sheng's spiritual body, a mass of real darkness appeared in the shape of a ball, floating above Qin Sheng's spiritual consciousness sea. Quote. Feeling the power radiating from the light cluster, Qin Sheng felt a little horrified. Although Qin Sheng has never heard of the illusory consciousness body, and has no idea what it is, even if the system has been amplified, he has not given any explanation, but Qin Sheng can feel it from this illusory consciousness body. Even stronger than the power of the evil god. Seeking flowers 0. Whether it is the Zinch that Qin Sheng has seen with his own eyes, or Slanesh, or the strength of Nurgle corn deduced by Qin Sheng, I am afraid that it is far inferior to the light group in front of him. Absolutely transcendent existence is the only evaluation Qin Sheng can give. It is even very likely that this object is not a product that can be born in a three-dimensional space at all, and it is very likely to come from a higher dimension. Today's current universe can only accommodate level 6 civilization, and level 7 civilization is already a level that can touch the truth of the universe in three-dimensional space. If you can't break this shackle, it is absolutely impossible to reach heaven. As for the higher 8th level civilization and 9th level civilization, Qin Sheng can't even imagine what kind of technology it has mastered. Terrible. This light group was the only existence that Qin Sheng had come into contact with before that surpassed Qin Sheng's understanding. The system will never take the initiative to answer Qin Sheng's questions except for the prompt tone that will be given when Qin Sheng gets the resources. As for the origin of this false consciousness, Qin Kong can only get it himself. Right now, the void liquid lake has not changed in any way, but in the eyes of Ramek and Javiers, Qin Sheng is just slightly dazed, and there is nothing wrong with it. Qin Sheng looked at Ramek. Have you heard of it, Vane? False. Never heard of it. Hearing this, Qin Sheng looked at Javiers, and Javiers's big eyes were twinkling, which was already an answer to Qin Sheng. Obviously, neither of them had any idea what this falsehood was. It seems that I'm afraid that only when I get to the level of the 4 great evil gods can I know what this illusory will body is. Boom. At this moment, Qin Sheng's sea of consciousness suddenly emitted bursts of loud noises, which made Qin Sheng dizzy, and in a trance, Qin Sheng's body, which had been transformed by technology, unexpectedly changed in an instant, were completely destroyed. But with the destruction of Lin Tuel's body, strands of void energy surged from Qin Sheng's sea of consciousness, penetrated into the limbs, and strengthened his own strength. Every breath of Qin Sheng is enough to cause a gust of wind in this abandoned nest. Ramek looked at Qin Sheng in astonishment. What's wrong with the Emperor Plus? 69%. 330th Chapter's Implementation, Transformation. Chapter 334 Implementation, Transformation. The mechanical organs, which are as fine as the particle level, are filled with clusters of void light energy, and Qin Sheng even feels that he is transforming into a more detached state in an instant. As early as Qin Sheng had just come into contact with the 7th level civilization, Qin Sheng already knew that if he wanted to enter the 4-dimensional space, he must abandon his body and completely transform it into a consciousness body. In today's current universe, matter still determines consciousness, and subspace, as a barrier between the present universe and higher dimensional spaces, has shown the characteristics that consciousness determines matter. It's just that the subspace hasn't reached that level after all, resulting in the existence of matter being almost zero, and everything can even be determined by consciousness. But when the energy emitted from the illusory will body poured into Qin Sheng's body, Qin Sheng really felt that his conscious body was even 377, and even transcended the physical body and moved closer to a richer dimension. Fortunately, his consciousness returned to his body in the end. Qin Sheng was in a trance for a while, and when he came back to his senses, his body even floated in the air, as if he was ruling the gods in this abandoned nest. As Qin Sheng recovered his consciousness and gradually fell to the ground, Qin Sheng finally escaped from the state just now. But at this time, in Qin Sheng's body, the internal organs, including all the places transformed by technology, were replaced by balls of black light. Qin Sheng clenched his fists. His current strength was even dozens of times stronger than before. Today's Qin Sheng is strong enough to be a demon by relying on his physical strength alone. You must know that a 4th-level demon is enough to destroy stars, but it is not as weak as imagined. As for even the 6th-level or even 7th-level monsters who have no ability to resist in front of Qin Sheng, it is because Qin Sheng's scientific research level is too monstrous. It's not that the big demons are weak. Feeling the power growing exponentially in his body, Qin Sheng couldn't help chuckling and said, "If you have mastered such power, what kind of battleship do you need?" As soon as Qin Sheng's words fell, he felt a resentful look from the side. Elise looked at Qin Sheng pitifully, and the corner of Qin Sheng's mouth twitched. "No, I just had a good time." If Qin Sheng was really asked to fight against the starship, even a starship with a 6th-level civilization would be enough to easily annihilate Qin Sheng. There is still a huge gap between physical strength and the caliber of a cannon. Qin Sheng pinched Elise's flabbergasted face. "Be obedient and promote. We're going to stay here for a long time." Good. Under the arrangement of Qin Sheng, Ramek played with Javiers, while Qin Sheng sat in front of the void liquid lake, wanting to mobilize the illusory will again to improve his own strength. The influx of that force just now made Qin Sheng forget to return. After all, no one would think that one's strength is too strong, only one's fist is hard, is the real truth. Several months passed, and the illusory will body fluctuated again, but this time the fluctuation was not as violent as the first time, and it only increased Qin Sheng's strength a little. If so, Qin Sheng sits on the lake of void liquid, absorbing the power of void liquid to comprehend the illusory will body, staying in his own sea of consciousness, while Elise is devouring the evils bit by bit on the shore. The ancestor husk also increased its own strength. With the passage of time, Qin Sheng's consumption of void liquid has also increased, or in other words, the illusory will body's demand for void liquid has increased. Like a bottomless pit, the entire void liquid lake stretches for tens of miles, and at the last moment, Qin Sheng can consume more than 10 centimeters of void liquid every day. Very quickly, when Qin Sheng walked out of the void liquid lake in the abandoned nest had almost bottomed out. The remaining void liquid is less than 1/10 of the original. Now Qin Sheng can even wrestle with a 7th level monster just by relying on his physical body and spiritual power. It can be said that Qin Sheng is already an existence comparable to a 7th level monster. In 2 years, the illusory will body woke up 4 times from the silence, and each of these 4 times made a great improvement under Qin Sheng's current state. Among them, the lowest level almost gave Qin Sheng a 10-fold increase in power. This thing can't be the main body of the system. This idea couldn't help appearing in Qin Sheng's mind. After all, the existence of the illusory will body, in Qin Sheng's cognition, even in the 4-dimensional space, such power cannot even exist. Of course, Qin Sheng has never entered the 4-dimensional space, and he still can't understand the 4-dimensional space. Maybe 4-dimensional creatures have such terrifying dominance over 3-dimensional space. Not far away, Elise's devouring also came to an end. After Elise came to this abandoned nest, the coordinate system Xuanyuan Genesis was left behind, which can directly cross the void and enter the space here. It can even be said that this abandoned nest can be used as Qin Sheng's final trump card in the future. Even the evil gods can't enter the abandoned nest to explore. Because of this, if they lose the enemy in the future, they only need to hide in the abandoned nest, and they can directly ignore the enemy and avoid the battle. Unless the enemy garrisons every coordinate left by Qin Sheng has already become an invincible existence. In front of the eyes, 2 rows of legs stretched out from both sides of the body of the Xuanyuan creation, shining with a strange streamer. At the same time, the original feet in the first 3 rows have also become unified, deep purple awns are in full bloom. Battleship name: Xuanyuan Genesis. Battleship class: Shandi, class super battleship. Warship length: 3,000 kilometers. Width: 240 kilometers. The main body of the battleship. The demon of the plane has the superposition state of regenerative ship body tissue times 3, and can independently carry out shield defense and energy absorption, due to external armor, internal stabilization device, energy system, engine system, transition system, etc. Weaponry: plane suppression control device times 1. Reverse time and space control device times 1. 4-dimensional space transition instrument times 1. Dimension reduction oscillator times 1. Universe 2.1 cosmic string wave manipulation underlying logic modification device times 1. 4-dimensional space manipulation device times 1. Sea erosion purple light energy bombardment control device times 1. Purple light reserve. 100% the weapon device will consume the purple light reserve. Special abilities: unique technology points of organism transformation technology. 1. The supercosmic membrane breaks through space transfer. 2. Inverse speed of light limit cosmic membrane modification. 3. Ultra-dimensional ontology attack. The original 3-row leg unit was upgraded to plane suppression, and the reverse light cone has also become reverse time and space. And after this devouring, the demon of the plane awakened 2 new abilities. One is the 4-dimensional space jump, and the other is the shock of dimensionality reduction, which Qin Sheng did not expect. With this promotion, Qin Sheng has completely reached the limit of a 7th level civilization. 70%. Chapter 335. Returning to Destruction Heaven. Chapter 335. Returning to Destruction Days. Sink into the palace. In the hexagonal palace, Slaanesha's face was gloomy. From the beginning of Slaanesha's birth, he had never been so angry because of such a small bug. Slaanesh, who was immersed in lust all day long, even if he was angry with his other 3 big brothers. The majestic evil god was angry because of a human race. From Slaanesh's point of view, Qin Sheng repeatedly opposed him, obviously provoking his majesty. Ever since Qin Sheng killed Stika, the two parties have been at a dead end. Now Qin Sheng even dared to come to the sunken palace blatantly, and even escaped under Slanesh's nose. Just a tiny bit. Slanesh's slender arms stretched out into the air, and she was lying on the blanket in a charming posture. In an instant, Slanesh's stretched palm squeezed violently. It's just a tiny bit away. You bastards are useless, what am I going to do with you? As Slanesh was furious, no one in the entire hexagonal palace dared to speak more, and all the joy came to an abrupt end. At this moment, a beautiful figure slowly twisted in from outside the hexagonal palace. Looking closely, the man's upper body was naked, the green light armor couldn't hide all the beauty, his face was exquisite like an elf, but his eyes were full of cunning and evil. Under its ribs and behind its neck, 4 arms protrude, and 6 arms swing, which looks very weird. And the most frightening thing is the snake tail on its lower body, which stretches for more than 10 meters, and the blue scales are shining coldly. The people who came were none other than Slanesh's rare 7th-level demons, Disara. Once an elf princess, now a general under the command of Slanesh. Prince, don't be angry. Didn't Qin Sheng fall into the nest of abandonment? Do you still remember your experience in the nest of abandonment countless years ago? Disara spoke softly. Her voice was as captivating as the most beautiful singing in the world. Slanesh twisted his waist and looked at Disara, near death. Even if you are a prince, you are still close to death, how can Qin Sheng come back? HMPH, you can't kill him with your own hands, what's the use of dying? Death is to relieve the hatred in your heart, prince. Disara crawled forward slowly, and shrank into Slanesh's embrace. Slanesh's charming appearance suddenly became as rigid as a man's, and her hands were floating on Disara's graceful body. In just a short moment, the entire 6 palaces returned to emptiness. But at this moment, in the abandoned nest, Qin Sheng admired the Xuanyuan creation in front of him with satisfaction. It has to be said that after devouring the corpse of the evil ancestor, the power of the Xuanyuan creation has been fully increased big cut. What Qin Sheng has mastered now is no longer the 6th level peak, or the 7th level entry. After the transformation of Xuanyuan Genesis, what Qin Sheng has mastered is the 7th level peak civilization. This is a level that no one can reach in the entire present universe. The 2 new skills of the demon of the plane are the real big moves, and the original planar tearing, etc., have been merged into one and become a planar suppression, but it is as ordinary as a common attack. The leap to the 4-dimensional space gave Qin Sheng one more life-saving card. Even if the 4 evil gods worked together to open up the void to find the nest of abandonment and Qin Sheng's location, Qin Kong can also escape into the 4-dimensional space. However, this stay is limited, it can only stay for a while, and if it takes a long time, it will be impossible to return to the 3-dimensional space. There is a huge difference between 4-dimensional creatures and 3-dimensional creatures. Before Qin Sheng can reach the dimension, if he stays in the 4-dimensional space, even if he can survive, it is useless. 4-dimensional space has never been a refuge for 3-dimensional creatures. For 3-dimensional creatures, 4-dimensional space is far more dangerous than space. As for another dimension-reducing oscillator, it was an improvement that really shocked Qin Sheng. The dimensionality reduction force comes from high dimensions, a force that does not exist in 3-dimensional space. The so-called two-way foil is still using the level of 3-dimensional technology to manipulate the 2-dimensional space for horizontal coverage, so as to cause a devastating blow to the enemy's civilization. The dimension reduction force is to forcibly increase the dimension with the power that does not exist in the 3-dimensional space in the 4-dimensional space. At the same time, the space cannot be improved in all directions under the vibration of the dimensionality reduction force, and such a process will lead to the complete collapse of the locality. This collapse is not a simple destruction, nothingness, but the direct stripping and destruction of the space and this piece of the universe, a collapse in the true sense. It can be said that Qin Sheng, who has mastered such power, has not yet reached the level of invincibility in the subspace, but in the present universe, even if all the civilization forces add up, they are definitely not Qin Dao's opponent. Qin Sheng was so satisfied, he had to say that the record manual for transforming battleships with living organisms really made Qin Sheng's upper limit much higher now. Otherwise, the improvement on the battleship alone would not be so simple. Just by devouring one's own main ship can be greatly improved. Such a thing is unimaginable in other civilizations. It has to be said that taboo technology is taboo technology. Of course, it is precisely because of the obstruction of the God of Judgment that the entire universe has stagnated for such a long time, otherwise, the current universe may not be far away from ascension. Standing beside Qin Sheng, Elise said with joy written all over her face, "In this way I can help the Emperor better." 260 Hearing this, Qin Sheng chuckled lightly. "What are you talking about, you? But it has never been a tool, or a so-called sharp weapon, for me. We are close friends." Exactly. At the beginning, Qin Sheng relied on the whispers in the void to deceive the real body of the demon of the plain, saying that he would take him to eat and drink spicy food, but now, Qin Sheng has indeed done what he said at the beginning. "Hobbiers, it's almost time, go back to destroy heaven." "Good." Hobbiers grinned, clasped his hands together, and as that immature little hand pulled open the void, waves of jumping and colliding particles forcibly opened up a space channel. The last time Qin Sheng and his party came to paradise, it was with the help of Hobbiers. Going back now, it should be the same. Even though the demon of the plane can make space leaps, after all, there are still many uncertainties in the nothingness. If there is a little bit of trouble in the real nothingness, it is not something that Qin Sheng can handle today. When everyone crossed the space channel and returned to the destroying heaven, obviously more than 2 years had passed, but in this destroying heaven, less than a day had passed. Qin Sheng chuckled. "This feeling is really strange. Go and surprise Anviria and the others." Qin Sheng stroked his chin, thinking so. 70%. 330th Chapters Mining Veins. Chapter 336 Mining the Vein. When Qin Sheng returned to Ruin Tian, he felt that the time was too hasty. With a time flow rate of 1 to 1000, it was impossible for Qin Sheng to stop and watch some things. Of course, as early as in the abandoned nest, Qin Sheng had already arranged many matters for returning to the destroying heaven. Following Qin Sheng's figure appearing in the black tower newly built by Ruin Tian, he headed straight for Anvilia's place. In the laboratory, Anwei Lia and Yi Shuang are devoting themselves to conquering scientific research. Sensing Qin Sheng's arrival, the two raised their heads to signal. Qin Sheng pressed his palm lightly. "I have a gift for you." Gift. The two looked at each other with some doubts. With Qin Sheng fighting for so many years, this is the first time Qin Sheng said that he has a gift for himself. Qin Sheng chuckled. "It can help the two of you to take your understanding of the subspace to a higher level." Saying that, behind Qin Sheng, several tactical humanoid girls dragged the 5-color boulder forward. There are 5 kinds of strange brilliance circulating in the huge stone, flickering on and off, as if breathing. When the two girls saw the stone, their faces were full of puzzlement, and when Qin Sheng explained the function of the boulder to Anwei Lia and Yi Shuang, the two looked at the boulder with fanaticism. Yi Shuang quickly stepped forward and threw herself into Qin Sheng's arms. "Thank you, Emperor." On one side, Anwei Lia stared at Qin Sheng closely with a small dark face. Her face was a little tasteless. Qin Sheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He patted Yi Shuang on the shoulder lightly to push Yi Shuang away, and took the little hand of the second daughter to the boulder. "Let's put the scientific research angle on this boulder. With this boulder as the pump body, we can what is needed to transform ordinary power into black magic with ease. It really helps us a lot." "Hey, but it's only been half a day. Where did you learn about this, Emperor, and where did you get this boulder?" Qin Sheng had no choice but to support his forehead, and told the two of them that he had left secretly. When Anwei Lia heard that Slanesh stretched out his big hand to grab Qin Sheng, her heart jumped into her throat. And when it was known that everyone had entered the abandoned nest, found the void fluid, and that Qin Sheng obtained the illusory will body that strengthened himself, he smiled again, feeling happy because of what Qin Sheng got. In the laboratory, Qin Sheng hugged left and right. After a long time, Qin Sheng said slowly, "This place is not suitable for scientific research. The time flow is too fast, and it is really a disadvantage. I plan to send the scientific research team to the abandoned nest. Although the abandoned nest has many dangers, it is also the safest place. Problems such as space turbulence do exist, but when I went there, there was no problem at all. In Romik's mouth, the abandoned nest is terrifying, and all the rules in it no longer exist. It is pure disorder. But when Qin Sheng entered it, there was nothing unusual. According to Qin Sheng's guess, it's probably because of Harbies. This time, Qin Sheng intends to send the scientific research team to the nest of abandonment, and hobbiers must be sent with him. In addition, Qin Sheng does not intend to stay in this ruined sky for a long time. The next decision is to lead the Nova Legion, the Void Dragon Clan and the Dragon Fog Army to the sinking palace. The ore veins of the Falca crystal nucleus are recorded, and the ore veins are mined. Although the Falca crystal nucleus is used as the currency in the subspace, correspondingly, the Falca crystal nucleus also has considerable scientific research value. When Qin Sheng took out a Faka crystal nucleus, Anbia's eyes were shining. The power in this kind of stone is actually orderly. It is a miracle in this subspace, and it will definitely be of great help to our scientific research progress. It is extremely difficult to find order in the subspace in the true sense. Correspondingly, the same is true of disorder in the true sense. The only difference between the subspace and the current universe is that one is closer to order, and the other is closer to disorder. As for the material and spiritual aspects, they are both second. The mining of ore veins is necessary for Qin Sheng. The mining of a vein is already a serious problem for other evil gods. For Qin Sheng, one vein is equivalent to 10,000 veins. In this way, the speed of scientific research will also be greatly improved. After leaving the laboratory, Qin Sheng gathered everyone and made arrangements. Elise stayed in the destroying heaven to sit in command. Today's Elise is already comparable to an 8th level demon in terms of level alone. With Elise here, Qin Sheng can rest assured. Moreover, there is Dihao in Ruin Tian, and any problems can be known at the first time. As for Dihao's assignment, Tianao followed the scientific research team into the abandoned nest, Dihao followed Qin Sheng to mine the ore veins, and Xuanhao stayed in Destroying Heaven to report the situation for the other two groups. If anything goes wrong, Qin Sheng will be able to return to the Destroying Heaven as soon as possible. In any case, the Destroying Genius is Qin Sheng's first stronghold, which is easy to defend but difficult to attack. If it is changed to other places, I am afraid that there will be more problems. After all, the four evil gods in the subspace are watching covetously, and Qin Sheng dare not slack off in the slightest. As the Xuanyuan Shuangxi shuttled through the space again and again, bringing everyone to their respective locations, Qin Sheng took the Qiangu Yidi-class battleship loaded with tens of thousands of tactical humanoid girls, led the Nova Legion and the Void Dragon clan, and headed towards Go in the direction indicated on the map. This time, apart from Nova and Chu Xin, Elaheti and Neil Longmo also accompanied the tactical humanoid girl. With these four people around, Qin Sheng can no longer worry about mining the ore veins when he finds the location of the ore veins. Hundreds of battleships soared into the sky, marching towards the depths of the subspace. Following Qin Sheng's departure, a blood-colored figure flashed past outside the ruining sky. In the killing sky, Korn's eyes flashed brightly as he sat on the Nuohao skeleton throne. Called Ma Dage to come. Quote, not long after, Medag, the bone demon who was wearing a black robe and looked like a god of death, walked in slowly from outside the bloody gate. Behind Medag, Skarbrand followed closely like a loyal dog. Qin Sheng left Destroying Heaven. Korn supported his head with one hand, and a chilling voice sounded. Medag quacked and said with a strange smile, follow my king. Skarbrand's eyes were dull, and he had already lost his mind. How can the great demon who betrayed Korn be eligible for the sanity stock? As Modage turned and left the hall, a killing intent flashed in Korn's eyes, hee, little bug. After the throne, Valkia walked out twisting her waist. My love, shall I accompany you? If they can't handle it, there's no need to come back. Korn waved his hand and said. 70%. 330th chapters false throbbing. Qin Sheng led the army to leave Ruintian, and headed for the place where the Faka crystal nucleus vein was recorded. At the same time, the four great evil gods in the subspace learned the news that Qin Sheng had left Ruintian, but except for Korn, the other three great evil gods did not act rashly yet. Tzeentch, as the first evil god to have contact with Qin Sheng, is also the evil god who keeps everything in the universe running overnight. Tzeentch's view of Qin Sheng is very different from the other three evil gods. As one of the four masters of the subspace, if Qin Sheng could one day overwhelm Tzeentch, it would definitely be unbearable for Tzeentch. No matter who the four evil gods were, they would not be able to bear that someone would overwhelm him. But Tzeentch's vision is more than that. Qin Sheng is the only one that made Tzeentch feel that he could suppress the gap between the present universe and the subspace, combine the two into one, and even leave the subspace with the evil god. Just as Tzeentch thought before, as long as he can get rid of this subspace that has sealed his endless time, even if he takes it as his master, it doesn't matter. As for Nurgle and Slaanesh had no way of knowing the whereabouts of Qin Sheng. At this moment, sinking into the palace, Slaanesh thought that Qin Sheng was trapped in the abandoned nest. And Nurgle, the great loving father, has no intention of coming to kill Qin Sheng. Killing is the most detestable thing for Nurgle. It is Nurgle's goal to immerse himself in the ravages of the plague that can be called purgatory. Nurgle is now in the corrupt sky, concocting the ultimate poison. Inside the Qiangu Yidi-class super battleship, Qin Sheng sat on the commander-in-chief seat, closing his eyes and meditating. Before leaving, Elise left a spatial location on the main ship in case of emergency. After all, relying on these warships alone, not to mention the real 7th level and 8th level monsters, even the 6th level monsters are absolutely impossible to face. And it would be really difficult for Qin Sheng to confront the 6th level monster with his physical body. Without the Xuanyuan creation, Qin Sheng couldn't move a single step in the subspace. However, if there is no one in charge of Huo Tian, Qin Sheng will be even more worried. Although the time flow in destroying heaven is too fast, it is still a place enough for Qin Sheng to develop. If Qin Sheng is allowed to leave, Qin Sheng must be reluctant. The entire Doom Heaven is still in chaos and collapse, but with the blessing of the Land of Destruction heraldry, it will change and become calm after a long time. The current situation is to solve the predicament of the present universe this morning. Merit must die. It can be said that Qin Sheng is now tormented by both external and internal troubles. Mara is not dead and the universe in this world will definitely collapse in the end, and the gathering of the 5 evil gods will not be a small pressure on Qin Kong Jaiwan. The 4 great evil gods in the subspace stared at each other covetously, and they had to take it to heart. However, the speed of time in destroying heaven is too terrifying, and Qin Sheng has no chance to waste at all. Race against time is Qin Sheng's current state. Qin Sheng. Chu Shu came forward from one side, looked at Qin Sheng's brows were furrowed, and put his hands lightly on Qin Sheng's shoulders. Qin Sheng slowly opened his eyes. What's the matter? Chu Lun shook his head. It seems that you are not in the right state. This trip is dangerous and a little worrying. Qin Sheng let out a long sigh. Ever since he came to the subspace, looking at one step and 3 times has really exhausted Qin Sheng physically and mentally. Emperor, there is something strange ahead. At this moment, Haida's voice came from behind Qin Sheng. The azure blue light curtain circulated above the porthole, reflecting the scene far away. A skeleton hidden under a black robe, behind him is leading a giant monster that can be seen at a glance. It is the great demon of Korn. It was Skarbrand and Medag who came. Skarbrand. On the battleship, Di Hao exclaimed, and a trace of panic flashed clearly in those gleaming eyes. You say that's Skarbrand. On the side, Nova's complexion also changed suddenly, his throat swelled, and even his body trembled a bit. Ramek even jumped up and down on Qin Chen's shoulder. My lord, hurry up, Safai, return, before you are discovered, return quickly. As Skarbrand fierce, the 8th level demon, the strongest warrior under the command of Korn, when he was fighting in the world and fighting endlessly, Valkia was not even considered anything. Qin Sheng raised his eyebrows and said, it seems that Korn has already made preparations. Not long after I left destroying heaven, someone came to rob the way. After a pause, Qin Sheng grinned suddenly. It's just right, I also want to see if Xuanyuan creation can beat the 8th level monster now. Emperor, think twice. This Skarbrand can even be regarded as the most powerful existence under the 9th level demon. Ramek was still on Qin Sheng's shoulder to dissuade him. Qin Sheng raised his hand and interrupted Ramek's words, it doesn't matter. The next moment, Qin Sheng's consciousness wanted to connect to Elise, but at this moment, there was another loud noise suddenly in Qin Sheng's sea of consciousness. Qin Sheng was cut off from all contact with the outside world, and there was no way to send any news to Elise. Just when Qin Sheng was puzzled, the loud noise echoed in his mind continuously. Boom. In an instant, Qin Sheng's entire body became faintly visible, as if transparent, and Qin Sheng's internal organs had suddenly turned into the appearance of small galaxies, slowly rotating in Qin Sheng's body. Everyone present was horrified when they saw Qin Sheng's change. In Qin Sheng's sea of consciousness, the illusory will slowly circulated. Qin Sheng had a splitting headache, but in just a short moment, Qin Sheng's whole body went limp and he fell to the ground, and the strangeness just now ended. Just when Qin Sheng was about to speak, streams of jelly-like pitch-black mucus flowed out from Qin Sheng's body. This jelly seemed to be alive, flowing towards the entire battleship, as if it were endless. In just a few breaths, it diffused in all directions of the entire battleship. Zzz, zzz. The sound of fine electric currents can be heard endlessly, and the entire battleship has undergone great changes. Qin Sheng gasped heavily. His body was wrapped in the black mucus, unable to move, but as the black mucus covered the entire battleship, Qin Sheng found that his consciousness seemed to be able to connect with every part of the battleship. Making a connection is like manipulating Xuanyuan Shuangxichang. A noisy signal came from the illusory will body, echoing in Qin Sheng's mind, but Qin Sheng couldn't understand the meaning at all. Quote. Quote, everyone present felt a little at a loss when they saw the change in the battleship. Even Qin Sheng had never expected such a change. At this moment, a clear, electronically synthesized language fell into Qin Sheng's ears. Fight, kill them. 70%. Chapter 338. The First Confrontation. Chapter 338. The First Confrontation. Qin Sheng's heart trembled, and the signal from the illusory will body made Qin Sheng a little elusive. However, along with it, there are bursts of frightening power, which is no worse than Xuanyuan Genesis. From Qin Sheng's sea of consciousness, hundreds of limbs poured into the skeleton, and then gathered on the entire battleship along the black mucus covering his whole body. As that Qin Sheng's warship. In the far distance, there was a trace of flames flickering in the skull of Matage's skull, capturing Qin Sheng's location through the endless void. Skarbrand, this is Yi Chen, your hero. As Madag stretched out his hand, behind him, the blood-red warrior waved the two giant axes in his hand and soared into the air. Like a cannonball, the speed was extremely fast, spanning a distance of tens of millions of kilometers, jumping onto Qin Sheng's battleship, and following the fall of the two giant axes. Even in this subspace, the space followed the direction of the axes. The sharp fracture on the ground, not to mention the battleship, even the galaxy can be easily split into two halves. In the porthole, everyone's faces showed despair. At this time, Qin Sheng didn't know what kind of change happened, and outside the battleship, the arrival of the 8th-level monster was definitely a catastrophe. And as the giant axe fell, it made a muffled sound when it hit the battleship that was only of the Qiangu Yidi class. The black slime attached to the outer wall of the battleship, like two huge palms, held back Skarbrand's 10 blows with the giant axe without causing any impact. Fight, kill them. In the spiritual ocean, the voice of the false will came again. That voice without the slightest emotion, like electronic synthesis, reverberated in Qin Sheng's ears, and Qin Sheng's eyes became clearer and clearer. At this moment, Qin Sheng could already control everything about this warship. The two seemed to come from the same genichi, without any shackles at all. With Qin Sheng's thought, the entire battleship deck slowly opened, and countless arrays of weapons came out. With the blessing of this black slime, these battleship weapons, which have only reached the pinnacle of the 6th-level civilization, have become extremely powerful now. With the different shapes of black beams of light spraying out, they went straight to the bombardment of Skarbrand. Zzz. The berserk electric current raged, accompanied by the power of destroying the world brought by the light energy. Even if he was driving the Xuanyuan Genesis, he might not be able to hit this blow. Ever since Qin Sheng transformed his battleship from ordinary technology into a biological battleship, such light energy collisions have been extremely rare. Well, such weapons can no longer be used in any way. But today, with the help of this illusory will body, Qin Sheng's blow even injured an 8th-level demon. Among the battleships, Di Hao's face was full of disbelief. What kind of power is this? In the current universe, according to Di Hao's speculation on energy analysis, this blow is enough to completely extinguish a galaxy with a diameter of more than 1,000,000 light-years. But before that, you have to know that this battleship is just a creation of the pinnacle of the 6th-level civilization. Qin Sheng felt that in the spiritual ocean, the illusory will body was continuously dissipating power to fill his whole body, replenishing the consumption in the battleship, and he felt a warm current surging in his nasal cavity, and the scarlet blood flowed along Qin Sheng's body. Nasal discharge. How can this iron-clad battleship explode like this? Far away, Madag also felt puzzled. At this moment, in the face of that jet-black ink-like beam of light, covering blows, even Skarbrand suffered considerable damage. His body surface, which was already ferocious and full of scars, was now even more pitted. An 8th-level demon so powerful that he was almost invincible among all chaos demons, but now he was also deflated when facing Qin Sheng. Madag couldn't imagine what Qin Sheng had mastered, but judging from the battleship's body was not strong, and the weirdness was on top of the black slime. After a long while, Madag waved the huge sickle in his hand, and as the sharp blade traced across the void, scarlet formations were engraved by Madag in the void space. Pushing the sickle, the scarlet formation contained rich black magic power, and as the space moved, it became bigger and bigger, and finally imprinted on Skarbrand's back. In an instant, this terrifying giant beast roared to the sky. On the terrifying head, several horns grew and elongated crazily, and every muscle on the body became more and more swollen. Even the body that covered the sky and the sun had once again become huge. Seeking flowers 0. The axe clenched in the two devil-like giant palms also wailed in pain at this time, as if it couldn't bear the strange force. As Skarbrand's giant palm stretched out, grabbing the black slime on the outer wall of the battleship, he tore a large piece from the outer wall of the battleship abruptly. The illusory will body is constantly operating in Qin Sheng's mind, and Qin Sheng only feels that his power is almost endless. But even so, Qin Sheng couldn't be sure when this illusory will body would come to an abrupt end, and this battle must be resolved quickly. It doesn't mean that Skarbrand can be killed, but at least he must lead many warships to get rid of Modage and Skarbrand's pursuit. Qin Sheng's eyes narrowed slightly. Grasp the things around you, don't fall. The next moment, following Qin Sheng's thoughts, the entire battleship leapt forward at an extremely fast speed, and the sudden acceleration caused Skarbrand's body on the battleship deck to sway, and fell off the battleship. Qin Sheng snorted coldly. The speed of the battleship was pushed to the extreme, surpassing the speed of light or even 10,000 times, while Qin Sheng was orbiting around Skarbrand, but Skarbrand couldn't capture Qin Sheng's trajectory. At the same time, Qin Sheng on the battleship was manipulating the amplified weapon array covered in black mucus, spitting flames non-stop. All beams of light falling on Skarbrand's body surface are enough to cause effective damage, but this huge battleship body can move around in space, seemingly ignoring any inertial obstacles. Qin Sheng gradually became a little obsessed with the blessing of this kind of power, and even the brilliance in his eyes became dimmer. Quote! Quote. In an instant, Qin Sheng's mental ocean seemed to be lightly touched by someone, and the feeling of obsession dissipated, leaving Qin Sheng with lingering fears. At this moment, Skarbrand had no way of getting close to Qin Sheng, and the firepower covering the battleship made Skarbrand seriously injured. Medag yelled angrily. Damn fool. The next moment, Medag's figure flashed extremely, and he joined the battle. 70%. Chapter 339 Void Covering, High-Dimensional Suppression. Chapter 339 Void Covering, High-Dimensional Suppression. In the space in front of him, a singularity suddenly expanded, but in an instant, it turned into a huge collapse, and Medag's figure stepped out of it. The giant scythe waved, and in an instant the vast subspace turned upside down. As a rare wise general under Korn's command, Medag's strength was naturally not as weak as it appeared on the surface. The waving of the scythe caused all the choices in the entire space to become reversed. Qin Sheng wanted to steer the battleship forward, but it turned backwards, and wanted to turn left, but it turned right. In this way, the speed of Qin Sheng's movement was greatly restricted, and for Medag, this was just a small trick. See where you run away. Medag giggled strangely, swung the scythe down, and a huge, 913, bloodlight that could tear Nebula apart was pulled in the void, and Skarbrand also jumped up violently. Under the blessing of the Scarlet Formation, Skarbrand's weapons became even more violent. With the giant axe and the bloodlight attacking both ways, there were only two muffled sounds on the battleship. Black's mucus was not affected at all, but the battleship wrapped inside it, due to the terrifying shock force, become fragmented. If it weren't for the cohesive package of black slime, let alone fragmented at this moment, a single click would be enough to turn the battleship of the Eternal Emperor class into fly ash. Mei Sheng spat out a mouthful of blood, and only at this moment did everyone notice that Qin Sheng, who was wrapped in that black mucus, was already blurred with his entire face covered by blood. Both Medag and Skarbrand pursued the victory, raging on the battleship, without the support of the battleship itself. Although the black slime tried its best to gather the broken battleship body, it was of no avail. The deadly despair appeared on the faces of the people again, but it was not because Modage and Skarbrand were getting closer, but because Qin Sheng was almost exhausted. The power of the illusory will cannot be borrowed and used so easily. Of course, Qin Sheng never thought of such a powerful power emanating from the illusory willpower, let alone borrowing this power. In other words, this power was forcibly given to Qin Sheng by the illusory will body. Qin Sheng. Chu Si's complexion changed suddenly. Seeing Qin Sheng's appearance tightened his heart, and Nova beside him also showed an anxious expression. Qin Sheng shook his head. I'm fine. The voice was weak, but it reassured everyone. I'm going to fight them. Nova's eyes flashed with killing intent, and he clenched his fists and was about to leave the hull. Qin Sheng shook his head. Black's mucus wrapped around Nova's calf. Don't worry, I'm here. I can't maintain this power for too long. Get rid of these two guys and go straight to the Faka crystal nucleus vein recorded on the map. As Qin Sheng said, the next moment, the illusory will body bloomed in Qin Sheng's spiritual ocean, and the dark light even penetrated Qin Sheng's body and illuminated the entire battleship. Wherever it passed, everything the light was swallowed, and the package covered the entire battleship. In the void, there was a buzzing sound, and Qin Sheng's consciousness became more and more blurred. From the outside world, in the eyes of Medag and Skarbrand, this battleship seemed to have disappeared. It was pitch black, stagnant in the void, as if a piece of a picture scroll had been deducted. It was said to exist, but it was impossible to figure it out. It was said to not exist, but it was there. Covered by the void. Qin Sheng muttered in his mouth. As early as a long time ago, Qin Sheng had obtained the four-dimensional covering technology, which can pull and cover the direct viewing surface of the three-dimensional space with the four-dimensional space. The technology that works wonders. And under the blessing of this illusory will body, after a brief modification and reorganization in Qin Sheng's mind, the four-dimensional covering technique has evolved into void covering. At this moment, the void and the battleship itself are integrated into one. The two do not distinguish between you and me, and the attack on the battleship will naturally fall into the void, as if punching the air. This feeling, is it a dimension increase? In the battleship, Di Hao showed a startled look, and quickly conveyed the situation in his consciousness to the spiritual ocean of Tian Hao and Zan Hao. Inside this battleship, the existence of consciousness became more and more detached, but matter seemed to no longer exist at all, and the timeline became transparent and clear, as if it was reflected in front of his eyes. Although the rest of the people felt the change, they couldn't feel the mystery of it. Only Di Hao, as a nearly pure spiritual body, Di Hao's family is similar to the existence of a higher dimension. And in this battleship, with the changes in the battleship, Di Hao can also adapt to this strangeness. The power of the illusory will covered every corner of the battleship. Under Qin Sheng's control, this Eternal Emperor-class battleship, which was originally common to the extreme, became as incomprehensible as the Xuanyuan creation. At this moment, Medag and Skarbrand seemed to be facing the sixth-level civilization of Xuanyuan Genesis in the present universe. Even if they wanted to destroy it, all attacks were in vain. Qin Sheng grinned, and the corner of his pale mouth curled up. High-dimensional suppression. The next moment, the illusory will again emitted a dark but extremely dazzling light, illuminating the entire battleship like black scorching sun. As this ray of light fell, Skarbrand wailed endlessly, and a strange brilliance shone in Medag's empty eye sockets. This power is absolutely impossible to be what you. Medag's words were not yet finished, but they were already swallowed by the black light. At this moment, Ma Dag, who was still holding the chance of winning, was suppressed by a higher dimensional force, and even his body gradually became blurred. In just a short time, the entire space became a 2.0 singularity under the power of high-dimensional suppression, as if a hill was pulled and suppressed into particles that cannot be detected by the naked eye. In this particle, Mayberg and Skarbrand are sealed. This singularity is the result of high-dimensional suppression. Qin Sheng panted heavily. With blood flowing from his ears and nose, his breath was extremely weak. Under the blessing of the illusory will body, Qin Sheng tried his best to even kill Skarbrand and Medag, but at the same time, he would be completely drained of his vitality by this force. It is already the limit to be banned now. The disorder in the subspace will lead to the gradual reconciliation of this place, and we cannot stay for long. Lead everyone to the place where the Faka crystal nucleus vein is. When we get there, we have plenty of opportunities to deal with it. Quote, the black slime gradually gathered back into Qin Sheng's body. Qin Sheng held on to the last bit of strength, and said to Chu Lun. 71%. Chapter 340 Mining, the Surge in Scientific Research. Chapter 340 Mining, the Surge in Scientific Research. A few days later, Qin Sheng woke up from a coma, and it was Chu Xin who was by Qin Sheng's side. Hetty and the others were making strategic deployments, surrounded by powerful enemies in the subspace, and each of them wanted to kill Qin Sheng, or even destroy the entire Great Qin Empire, so they had to be cautious. The original warship has been destroyed and there is nothing left, but this time it is all accompanied by the Qiangu Yidi-class warship, so it doesn't matter. Qin Sheng propped his head up. A wave of severe pain came from his limbs and bones. The illusory will body has fallen into a deep sleep again, and there is no movement in the spiritual ocean. Seeing Qin Sheng wake up, Chu Xin held Qin Sheng's shoulder. Is it better? Several catheters were pierced on Qin Sheng's body, and the pure and penetrating nutrient solution nourished Qin Sheng's body and repaired all the loss of Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng pulled out the catheter and let out a long breath. It's lucky that I didn't die. This time it was really a narrow escape, and the sudden awakening of the illusory will caught Qin Sheng by surprise. If the Xuanyuan Genesis was here, even though it would be impossible to kill Skarbrand and Modage with his own hands, at least he would not be able to kill him. It will become so embarrassing. It is still very simple to escape. But at the same time, this situation also made Qin Sheng reacquainted with the illusory 28-will body. An alternative version of the old man's bodyguard. This is Qin Sheng's evaluation of the illusory will body. Just this single contact made Qin Sheng understand that the illusory will body may not even be a four-dimensional space, but a powerful existence that can reach five-dimensional or even higher levels. The power of the void is very strange. It should not exist in the present universe, but the two coexist. As for the void liquid, it is the pure and extremely majestic concrete production capacity of the void zero-point energy. At the same time, after the blessing of tens of thousands of times, its quality and quantity have undergone great changes, allowing Qin Sheng to obtain the high-dimensional energy, the power of. You must know that the body of the demon of the plane is in the nightmare plane, and the nightmare plane is also a projection of the four-dimensional space, which is filled with the power of consciousness and spirit, but even so. As a four-dimensional space creature, the Xuanyuan creation could not resist the attack of subspace demons. However, the black mucus produced by the illusory will do. Qin Sheng couldn't help but began to become more and more curious about what kind of existence this false will body is. How long will it take to get to that Faka crystal nucleus vein? Qin Sheng asked. A pale blue light curtain projected from the center of Chu Xian's palm. It will take about half a day. Well, did you encounter any accidents along the way? No, Hetty and Long Mo made strategic deployments, and the trip was mainly hidden. Except for Nazca Brand and Modage, they did not encounter any evil god forces. So best. In the subspace, apart from the four heavens, there are large tracts of chaotic lands that are thousands of times larger than the four heavens combined. These places are almost completely disordered, without owners, and without fundamental matter. Area. It is precisely because of this reason that even the four great evil gods will not set their targets in these barren lands. But that Faka crystal nucleus lode is in a place where these evil gods don't even bother to look at it. At the same time, it is between the territories of Zinch and Nurgle, and it happens to be kept in a position that is not involved with each other. It can be said that this Faka crystal nucleus vein can even be said to be a gift from God. Without the threat of chaos demons, Qin Sheng and his group arrived at the place where the Faka crystal nucleus vein was marked in a short time. A looming light and shadow stretches for tens of thousands of miles, like a mountain range, but it is clear that this is just a projection remaining in the subspace. Qin Sheng dragged his weak body off the battleship, looked at the light and shadow mountain range in front of him, thought for a while, excavate. Quote. Hetty Longmo looked at each other. Although he was puzzled, he still did as he did. When the countless accompanying tactical humanoid girls came into contact with this illusory light and shadow more and more, even reaching out to touch the rocks here would be in vain, but when the shovel fell at this time, as if some kind of illusion had been punctured, the tens of thousands of miles of mountains became real in an instant. On Qin Sheng's shoulder, Ramek jumped up and down, his eyes filled with joy. Congratulations to the Emperor, congratulations to the Emperor, this is indeed a Faka crystal nucleus vein. Seeing that this place is really not illusory, the tactical humanoid girls also became motivated. Under the control of Hetty Longmo, one after another giant mining machines were moved down from the battleship. The mountains stretch for tens of thousands of miles. If you want to mine all of them, I'm afraid it won't take a year. What's the difference in the flow of time here? It's fairly stable, about 1 to 2.3. When Ramek gave a reply, Qin Sheng nodded. Speed up the pace of mining, all the machines are operating at full capacity, and there is no need to consider the loss. For Qin Sheng, the loss can be ignored directly, and the mining of this vein is enough for Qin Sheng to gain a firm foothold in the subspace. Ramek jumped up and down excitedly. This mineral vein is more than 60,000 kilometers by visual inspection. Even in the entire subspace, it can be regarded as a huge Falca crystal nucleus mineral vein. The Emperor is really a god. You son, if you can get this vein, you will be able to dominate the subspace just around the corner. Hearing this, Qin Sheng couldn't help laughing. It has to be said that after Ramek assimilated him with his iron heart, he became more and more glib. As the tactical humanoid girls entered the mining state, Qin 240 Sheng returned to the battleship. Di Hao was conveying the situation to Tian Hao and Zan Hao. Seeing Qin Sheng coming, Di Wu got up and nodded. Qin Sheng waved his hand. Is there nothing going on over there? At this moment, counting the various time flow differences throughout the whole process, only 2 hours have passed in Ruin Tian. Qin Kong has gradually become accustomed to this strange time flow difference. Di Hao shook his head. There is nothing wrong with Ruin Tian, but there are some things in the abandoned nest. Anviria and Yi Shuang have completely transformed the colorful boulder into a technological engine. After hearing this, Qin Sheng frowned slightly. For the abandoned nest, the flow of time was basically equal to the outside world, so 3 months had passed in the abandoned nest. Tisk tisk tisk, subspace, subspace, this feeling is really. Qin Sheng shook his head and smiled bitterly, it's so good. By the way, where should the Mind Faka crystal nucleus be sent? Di Hao suddenly thought of this question and asked. 40% will be sent to the abandoned nest, 20% will be sent back to Destruction Heaven, and the rest will be accumulated here. Qin Sheng said so, and at this moment, in Qin Sheng's heart, a careful plan had already emerged. Enough to subvert the plan of the warp slightly by using the Faka core. Plan of the warp slightly by using the Faka core. Plan of the warp